whatever you want. I'm going to call the Breckenridge Town Council work session Tuesday. Is it? No. Sorry, I'm on the wrong day. March 26th to order. We're going to start with Planning Commission decisions, and since there were none, we're going to move right on into legislative review. Code updates to policy 22 and policy 48A regarding defensible space. Hey, Cliff.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Cliff Cross, Planner 2. Before you this afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, I have first reading again for our policy 22 and policy 48 regarding defensible space. So previously at the last council meeting, we heard some additional feedback and we're bringing back those changes to you this afternoon. To quickly go over them, staff has basically kind of clarified some of the language within that immediate zone, so the 0 to 5 feet regarding trees being removed in the 0 to 5 feet. Definitely staff felt comfortable with that, with the additional language regarding the downtown core, just remaining to have some flexibility for staff to contemplate protecting our trees while also meeting the intent of defensible space. The second one, we did remove the sentence regarding personnel training from the IGA statement. Staff was comfortable with this. If an IGA were to be made, the intentions of the code would be brought into that IGA. So staff is comfortable. And then the last one is going to be regarding the language for the downtown core map. We were comfortable with removing the roadways and fire break consideration from that. All of this was met with well, I guess we met with Matt Benedict last week to kind of review all of these changes in both red, white, and blue, and staff is comfortable with these. So at this time, we're definitely happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
I think I was most vocal on this, and I just wanted to share my appreciation for the changes that were made. I think that Captain Benedict's comments were very impactful, and I thought that you guys did a great job in revising this to make it a better code change, and I'm very appreciative and will be supportive.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you.
Name
Clifton Cross, just to go by Cliff.
Good work. Good name.
Yeah, that's a cool name.
I appreciate that as well. And I know that Captain Benedict also sent us an email with a lot of great information, and appreciate that you guys had a conversation about that we're unique in that we have a historic district, and that is unique in our community and certainly deserves some special consideration. So I think you did a terrific job considering all the ins and outs of wildfire versus in the middle of core of town.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
know this is out of your wheelhouse and perhaps something, for the council or the staff. Is there, and do we have any way that we can kind of convey our concern and our commitment to wildfire safety to the insurance companies so that they stop jacking up the prices of insurance? I mean, some of these older condos is just getting ravaged. You know what I'm saying? Is there anything that we can do to kind of alert them?
Well, I mean, I don't think we need to alert them, but we do need to consider or continue to have conversations with the state, because Julie McCluskey definitely brought this up in their legislative update back in January or December when we did that. And so we know that there are discussions ongoing, but haven't heard really anything coming out, but we know it's an issue. And I mean, like, we heard that California, didn't you say that? Yeah.
Yeah.
State Farm is no longer insuring in California. So this is not unique to just here.
It is, the state is very aware of it. There's even with our discussions with red, white, and blue here recently, some more information regarding the, let's see, the Wildfire Resiliency Code Board is currently meeting. Their next meeting is on April 12th. So staff will be in attendance to that just to see if there is any update regarding some of the discussions going on at the state.
Yeah.
There is some push from the municipal participants on that board to keep intact local control and not force changes on municipalities. So we'll see how that goes.
And some of us remember when we tried to do that defensible space early on, I think during the Ernie Blake era. And one of the complaints was, oh, well, if you keep, making all these safety regulations, it's going to alert the insurance company that there perhaps is an issue and they're raising insurance. I didn't agree with that. But I think the wildfires in California and Canada, all over the place have done that. And we're suffering the consequences,
Great. Anything else for Cliff?
Nice work.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You?
All right, BGV Development Agreement.
On them again?
So we've been on schedule for 5 minutes and
All right, good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. We provided a memo regarding this item, really outlining the changes that were, I think, largely fulfilled straight away from the last work session. We did have, since the packet went out, an amendment made on page 14 of the development agreement regarding Roman numeral 5. And really after hearing feedback from staff, the applicant was trying to kind of bring that section back to basics. The applicant, Mike Dudek, here met with Lori Best and basically, I guess, got to a point of reframing this language for this section with her support. And then has met again, I think you've met probably 2 or 3 times and then over the phone, but really trying to, I guess, simplify it overall. And I'm not sure if Mike has anything to add.
Yes, that's right. And Lori's been great with that. And I think that we kind of came full circle to the idea that just the AMI will govern and we'll just reset every 3 years and go 3% from there and just get rid of all the other stuff that was baked in there from what was published. So clean, simple, straightforward is the way I think it reads now. I hope that's the way you.
I mean, this works for me. I'm okay with this. I just would like to see that this is an all-in rent. There won't be any additional charge, any additional expenses to this. I thought that was kind of where we were headed to get to that all-inclusive rent. As long as we can reset every 3 years, then we're good making it all-inclusive. So.
Yeah, I think we listed all of the things. I think that's in there still. That
Yeah,
listed all the
well, I
inclusions.
just am looking for a statement in addition, everything listed just says, yeah, nothing else.
I mean, I don't want to, we didn't put like internet in there because I don't know what people are going to subscribe. I get that everybody gets that, but they have different levels of service. And so that's the only one I can think of that's not in there that I wouldn't want to put in there because I can't, I don't know what people want.
I'm just trying to protect against, protect our workforce, against anything, say you sell this project to another person, which might happen. And they decide to create a special taxing district that they're gonna pass on to these guys or something. And I just want to protect the workforce from any unknown additions to this rent down the road. And I thought that's why we were doing this reset, to cover that, have you be comfortable with that.
I guess I think that it does that, Dick, with the stuff that's listed in there. And I don't know what else that I would put in there as an inclusion that would clarify that more for you. I feel like it's the way I read it, it's all encompassing.
In 6B3,
I don't have it in front of me, so.
electric, gas, water, sewer, trash, snow removal, and property insurance is what rent shall include.
The online connectivity in it. And that was based on the variability of those plans that people can have.
If it makes you feel more comfortable, that's more encompassing than most leases you'll ever see, at least on the residential side.
I'll let it go.
So what do you'd like to have that and then as a last sentence and anything else and nothing else or something like that? What do you?
Just say it's gross. I mean, that was kind of the foundation of not using AMI. I mean, now we're blending AMI back in as a reset on the thing, reset on the base, which kind of gives an automatic reset, but,
So how would you? Like, what would you?
and nothing else.
And nothing else.
But whatever. I'm wearing out on this one, so.
Me too. I feel like we tried to get everywhere. I feel
No,
like
I'm just trying to protect our workforce.
I'm
Trying to
get
have
a place where we
affordable
can all say
housing.
yes.
That's
I feel
all
like,
I'm trying to do. That's it.
Yeah.
So in perpetuity, you know, I mean, I feel like the developer's very well protected with a 3% increase every year. Every 3 years, an increase of another 3% on the base. But the workforce isn't protected. So I think fair is fair. You know, if the developer is protected, let's protect the workforce. But whatever, it's, you know, I may be alone on this, but I mean, you're well protected in this.
yeah,
And-
well, I mean,
And it's
this is,
something that.
this is
that-
not, this isn't part of the code obligation to deliver housing. This is fundamentally privately funded and I know in my,
private. We're putting a substantial investment into it of density as well. So this is a public-private.
okay, fair enough. But I also know that the discussions we've had that these rents are going to be subsidized in addition by the master lessor too. So I think that from what I know, I feel like the tenants are very well protected in the language that's in this, in the inclusions that we've made and the AMI, when it resets, it's resetting, like Lori and I talked about, it still resets at 85% of 60%.
Yeah.
And the reason why we put the 3-year rolling average in there is that Lori was concerned that if you had if you just use the 3rd year and you had a spike in the AMI, that could drive rents up 10 or 15%.
No,
So we agreed to have it be a 3-year rolling average so that any increases would be moderated because of using an average versus a 1 year that spikes it. And so I feel like the two of us are in a good place with protection of the tenants.
I am curious though, of why, you know, we've heard from you and from others that AMI is very imperfect and that the volatility of AMI is unpredictable. And I was just curious why we went back to using AMI in moving forward,
Yeah.
where we could just start
Right.
with 65% of 80% and then do a 3% straight line because that takes away any gray area for you, the developer, as well as for the tenant.
So the issue there was that what Lori and I had talked about like 10 days ago and what showed up in the published version of this was was a mechanism to, in the event of extraordinary increases in other costs, like the property insurance that you were just talking about, that we could go back and have a discussion between the community development department and the owner of the project to reset the rents beyond the AMI threshold. And that started getting really complicated and I typed out this memo yesterday that was like, Jesus, this is going to be impossible to explain this. And it just felt like we just needed to simplify it and get back to the AMI. And so the 3-year rolling, Jay, gives us, it protects the tenant against a big upward spike. It protects the owner of the building from a aberration of a downward dip for whatever reason. It's gone down a couple times, which seems almost like inconceivable that it would go down. And so we felt like the 3-year rolling was a way to hedge for both the town and the owner of the building.
Is let's just say, you know, in 6 years, there's a 300% spike in homeowner insurance or property insurance for this. Does that get baked into the AMI somehow?
I mean, if you want to go back to my macroeconomics class in college, it does eventually that the cost of living catches up to wages. But that's one of the reasons why I don't like the AMI is because it takes so long for AMI to catch up to actual. I'm going to get too far down the rabbit hole on this. I believe that eventually it does. I think that in the short term it doesn't, which is why I was concerned about this from the get-go, but I'm willing to accept this as a compromise to get this finished.
Laurie, what, are you cool with this?
I do like tying affordability to, whoops, I'll just take this.
I can fool you.
I do like tying affordability to AMI, or else what are you gonna tie it to? You don't really have any metrics to evaluate whether it's affordable. So I don't mind going back to AMI. I like the 3-year rolling for sure. You know, I did a little analysis. We don't know what AMI is gonna do. I mean, we know since we've been tracking it for 40 years, it has averaged 3.2% a year on average, but there are dramatic spikes up and dramatic spikes down. But over time, it's about 3.2. And so, you know, but I don't know what it's going to do in the next 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah, but my question, are you okay with this as written?
Yeah, I am okay with what Mike and I landed on. I think it really protects the tenants from spikes in their rent. And I do think it keeps the units relatively affordable if you're basing it on what AMI is.
And so in your calculations, did you compare what would have happened with the previous?
I compared the current proposal, which is, you know, 2% for a few years, 3% for a few years, then you open up and then you start this new 3-year reset.
Yeah.
I compared that to just straight up AMI.
Uh-huh.
And the comparison of those two, actually, these units stay relatively more affordable.
Okay.
If I make some assumptions,
Yeah.
but I do the assumptions on both sides. So if I make an assumption that AMI is going to go up on average
Mhm.
5% a year, and I compare both of those methodologies using that same AMI growth assumption, actually our units stay, I used a 5% just AMI annual. That's twice what the annual has been over history, but at the end of, say, the first time it's resetting, we've gained ground. These units are then 73% of 60% AMI
Okay.
instead of the 85% we're starting with. And then if we did just straight AMI,
Uh-huh.
we lose ground. They're 86% of 60% AMI.
So this
So I
is a
definitely like the
benefit to
rolling,
renters. Okay.
and I like the reference back to AMI. Even though it's a bit unpredictable, we protect the tenants by having that 3-year. So
That's
I'm
great.
good with it.
And Jay, can I, and just real quick too, I mean, without getting too far into the weeds, what we did a worst case scenario in terms of the value of the asset. You know, we wanted to sell the building as an apartment complex relative to this cost of hazard insurance. And yeah, we do think we're taking a risk on this. We think that if the rates continue to explode like they have, that we're facing a degradation in terminal value in multiple 6-figure numbers. And so we are, I think, taking on a significant risk to the benefit of the tenants by saying, we're going to ride this out and see what happens with the value of the building. And if the hazard insurance goes up dramatically, it's going to affect the end value of selling the building at some point, and that's on us. And I'm guessing Dick's going to think that that's appropriate. So that's what this results in. And so I don't know how I can say yes to you guys more than what we're doing right here.
Just to clarify, let's just use the number 3.2% as the average AMI, that the rent will go up 3.2% plus an additional 3% escalator, or
No,
just
what would
that?
happen so what would happen in year 4 is that it would go up 3.2%. And then years 5 and 6, it would go up 3% and 3%. And so if the rolling average was 2% for that previous 3 years, in the year 4, it would go up 2%. It's not a guaranteed 3% in every year. It's when it resets the increase in the AMI, and then the second and third year are 3%.
But it's not
But it's a max 3%.
3%.
I'm okay with it, Mike. I just, I'd hope to get that other protection,
that's a lot
knowing
better
that
than
there's a high likelihood you're gonna sell it, but I can live with it.
Did someone put flowers between us? We're nice to each
Yeah.
other today.
We did. Like, look at how nice it is in here. And then just to verify, when you talked about the internet, we do have a package deal, right, with Allo on this one? Didn't we, or is that an Entrada?
I don't think it's in the agreement for either of them, but
Oh, I thought it
we
was. I thought.
can do a,
Public benefits in Entrada,
Oh, that's an
or
Entrada.
maybe it was in this one. I can't remember.
It's definitely in one of them because I.
It wasn't
remember.
here. We've never,
It's Entrada. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And-
hopefully we can make that happen, because that's important to town. I mean, I'm not gonna insist that it go in this agreement, but that just, I mean, I think you understand, Mike, we're trying to get some, efficiencies of scale with the fiber people that we've invested so much with.
no,
So
I
hopefully you guys understand the importance of that.
support it. I mean, I support what you guys are doing with the efficiencies of scale and the internet stuff for sure.
Well,
Well,
this,
signing up with Allo with the bulk contract is a big part of that, so.
does this get mirrored in, Entrada, this escalation?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Lori, very much for working on that.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone
Lori
for
was-
working on it.
Great.
So, I don't know if there's any members from the public. Tonight would be a hearing for the newly revised development agreement. It was not originally in the packet, but that section on page 14, Roman numeral 5 has been revised. There are paper copies here if anyone wants to look at it, as well as Helen will post the new version online so that's can catch a broader audience if
And so what it was here on 5 isn't what the,
It's right, yeah, it's what was handed out.
oh, Jay took 2 and didn't give me 1.
Sorry.
Yeah, this looks good. This looks good.
Shannon and I discussed how you'd make the motion earlier, so.
I'm okay.
All right. Well, thanks very much.
That's all I got.
Any other comments? Questions? All right. So it's gonna go in for first reading. We're gonna have it tonight. No further changes beyond this, right?
yes.
Okay. Great. Look at us.
Still, yes, stay where you are.
This easy, did you?
We have two more things to get through with you guys. The next up is Entrada parcel annexation.
Okay, thank you. So we've had some discussions on this, and at the March 12th meeting and at the previous February 27th meeting, council agreed to most of the deal points on this. So there's very little left here. I identified in the staff memo, the deal points that were agreed to at the last meeting regarding density, building height, engineering, code waivers, as well as policy 7R, environmental design. Are there any further questions or comments that council would like to make on those? Are you good with
Okay, so we're just talking about the deal points that we've already agreed on.
Correct. That? That's
Good
our
point.
first question for council, if you're comfortable with those.
Yeah. So anything before that first blue question? Anybody? Okay, good. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay,
The rent piece will mirror, right? Yeah.
okay. So then, the public commitments were also there. Council indicated their support for them last time, so I don't think I need to ask you again, but just wanted to note that. Then the outstanding issues, there's only just a couple things here. One on 5R, there had been discussion at the council of the applicant said they're willing to they'll be providing some wood trim on each building elevation, and then fiber cement siding, which would meet our code today. But the applicant would still like that waiver provision provided in the development agreement in case there's any code change down the road. Because this development agreement, if it's not specified here, then they would be subject to any code change that happens in the future. So, anyway, that's, want to get your feedback on that. We do believe we heard from some of you at the last meeting that, you were okay with that, but others definitely thought it wasn't necessary to include this waiver anymore. So maybe if we can get your response on that. it'd be
Yeah.
Helpful.
So looking for some clarity. Anyone want to?
So- So if we come to a development agreement and then we change the code, between the time that we do this agreement and he breaks ground, everything changes?
If it's not included in the development agreement,
Oh.
That's why he wants. it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
And Mark, just to clarify, I think maybe we talked about this last time, but this would be a very narrow scope of 5R. This would not be the entire, all of 5R that would be waived. It would be just this part.
Practice just for the, for the materials section. Yeah. As it's written, it's.
So specifically to the siding and that we believe the wood trim on the windows is sufficient for natural materials. So it would be that specific.
Yes.
So, yeah, I just have a really hard time understanding why, like, so if we said no more cement siding, couldn't they just find something else to use? I don't really understand why they're so, like, what's so important about getting this cement siding incorporated into the development agreement?
Well,
It's how the prefab houses are gonna, the boxes are gonna come. And so we need to
So
protect.
they come
we need
with
to-
siding on them.
Right, Graham? Yep. They come with the siding on, so it's all manufactured in Idaho and then dropped in place here. And so if you take it off, then you have to, it's a big expense to go in and apply it after the fact versus as part of
Okay.
the assembly line production.
I see. That's a step that I
Yeah.
missed.
I'm not really into the, just in case, variances, but if we can write this that narrow in scope that we just talked about, I can live with it.
I'm okay with it as well.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Carol is too. All right.
great. Second, then the rent. So like Chris was mentioning, there's been some changes to adjust, to put the latest rent language in here. And so those will be published, Helen will be publishing those later today. In addition to that, so it'll mimic what's on BGB, the Entrada.
Yep.
Will. In addition to that, there is the issue of resale of the units. There's a provision, I'm going to take you to it. It's 6.5, section 6.5. Let's see here. It's on page 9, maybe 195 of the packet. Is that right?
Yeah.
For you?
What'd you say? 6 what?
6.5.
Excuse me.
Okay.
What is it in this?
On page 9
9?
on ours.
Okay, and it talks about condominiumizing, nothing, notwithstanding any amendments to the code, nothing in this agreement shall preclude BGV from seeking approval of a condo map, so they could potentially condominiumize this and sell off the units. The deed restriction would still apply in any case. However, Lori has indicated that she would like a cap on the resale amount after the first sale. So Mike could make a sale of these units, but then after that point, a 3% annualized appreciation cap would be attached to that to prevent these from getting out of range or, unaffordable. So, and.
The live work deed on this deed restriction that is in perpetuity, correct?
It's live
Yes.
work, it's
Yeah.
live work, and it also has the AMI rent control too. So there's a double component, I think, to the restriction, right? Live work and the rent is capped.
Yeah, 100% AMI.
If the owner was renting it out, the rent's capped.
But then someone could, I mean, I don't know why. So it would be sort of more like a business owner would buy one of these
Sure.
and then rent it to their,
That's right. And then they would, if need be, they could end up being subsidizing that employee in that unit by not charging them the allowed rent and making up the difference as an inducement to get that employee. That's tactically, those are things that BGV does all the time.
So is there a deed though that would require that they have to have 6 people in there and not, because I feel like that's you know, so if someone bought it for their restaurant and they only had 4 people living it, like, you know, when you think of Vail Resorts, they're always going to have all of them filled. But then you think of somebody,
Remember, we're talking about Entrada now and not the
oh yeah,
dorm style.
yeah.
This is Entrada.
These are 1-bedroom, these are
Okay.
designed as 1-bedroom. Remember, they were
They would only
studios
buy as
before,
many
and we,
as- yeah.
right, and so it's a
they-
1-bedroom that will have a private sleeping area and then, you know, a dining table and a sleeper sofa kind of situation. So we anticipate, based on our historical use in 1-bedrooms from Moose Landing across from Distillery, that we would expect between 1.5 to 2 people on average to be living in these 1-bedroom units. There's cohabitation for sure in these.
Mike, can you live with Laurie's?
No,
suggestion?
Lori and I, we talked and we agreed to that we would have a
The 3%.
3% cap on a second sale. Yeah, I agree with, we're building workforce housing. We're not trying to build housing that, you know, that someone could comply with as a somehow they get around, they figure out the live work deed restriction. They don't care about the rent restriction. And then the value of the units triple overnight. And I agree with what the concept of what we're trying to do here is to create workforce housing and not get it outpriced. And so it gives us a strategy on the front side and it keeps it affordable long-term with the 3%
And
appreciation
it's the second and all subsequent sales.
subsequent.
I think it's awesome because, I mean, true security for our workforce is owning property. And so it's not just business people buying them to rent to the people. It's actual workforce members that can buy a 1-bedroom home and start building a little bit of equity. So I'm very supportive of that.
Yeah, thank you. And I get it because it, you know, it creates a hurdle for us on that first sale too, right? If I was going to sell it to you and said, well, your second one is only 3%, that might give you pause for buying it. And I understand the hurdle that puts in front of us, but I'm committed to the workforce housing, you know, philosophy and protecting that. I agree with Lori's suggestion.
Language I just handed out, the last sentence there in the red line is what Lori and Mike are both agreeable to regarding
Do
this.
you have any other concerns with condominiumizing and selling?
No, as long as we have a appreciation cap. Because, you know, I could see, you know, 5, 10 years down the road, you know, first they are sold to a local business and the local business uses it as a rental and the tenants are always protected as long as these are rented. But I could see one of those employees really at some point wanting to buy it from their employer. And that's when we lose all control if we don't have a resale cap on these. So I appreciate Mike adding that in.
Going to be just driven by market.
Yes.
Thanks.
Would there be any reason to have a first right of refusal?
You know, I thought about that as well. I mean, we typically like a first right of refusal on any for sale product. I mean, this one's a little bit different and I hadn't had a chance to talk to Mike about a
Who would get it?
first right. A lot of our for sale deed restrictions include the ability of the town to match an offer and it could be at that second sale, wouldn't be when he's selling it to the restaurateur or to somebody else. But when it starts to get into the hand of individuals, it would be nice to have a first right.
No skin off my back. That's fine. As long as we can get it in there tonight, then I don't care.
Now there's no downside. As long as we're not obligated to buy it.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm fine
Yeah.
with that. I mean, it
First right of refusal for the town of
be
Brackley.
a second sentence to this.
Yes.
It says a 3% second sale cap and a town has first right of refusal. That's fine with us.
Are we generally comfortable then with that provision we just discussed? The only other thing I wanted to, I know there's been a little confusion about the sign. Section 6.6. And this is on page 9, page 195 of your packet, page 9 of the staff memo, it refers to, it talks about being, any signs being subject to our sign code, but then there's this provision about the sign shall not be counted. Basically, it excludes it and applies a different, sign program to that sign. Little backdrop on this, Marty Getz, what we're talking about is a directory sign for his mini storage next door. And it's already existing there. It probably doesn't comply with the town's code. Marty, from day one, before Mike owned the property and he was a previous owner, wanted to make sure that he was protected to keep that sign. And if he had to do any replacement of, the information on the sign, whatever, that he could, the graphics, that he could do that per a sign code that had been approved by the county for that planned unit development that's there. We agreed to that previously, had no problems with that. So, anyway, that's what this is intending to do, is just protect that one existing sign that's there. Now, what I will say is, there's also section 1.4, and that specifically talks about the sign. So that's on page 189 of your packet.
3.
Excuse me? Yeah, page 3 of the staff report. The very last sentence here under 1.4, it says, notwithstanding the foregoing, the Entrada PUD sign program shall continue in full force and effect with regard to the existing tenant directory sign on the southwest corner of the property, then in parentheses, the sign. So I just wanted to clarify that because I know there's been a lot of questions about that. So
Hey, Mark,
hopefully that's helpful.
I'm okay with the language on 1.4.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Go.
Can we just use that same language in the variance of the sign code instead of waiving the whole sign code? That's the way I'm reading what is written. I would like to see it again, more narrow and just really protecting them for what they need to be protected.
Yeah, the way it's worded right now, Dick, it does not exempt them from the whole sign code. It's only for the sign that's exempted. But if Mike's agreeable, we could make that more consistent with 1.4.
Does that work for you, Mike?
If it works for Kirsten, it works for me.
I think it says that, but if
Do
you,
you? Okay. I guess I took it
we've
differently.
really vetted that pretty thoroughly.
I think that it's clear, but
If
I'm along
there's-
for the ride on this one.
Mark, if you have an idea.
6.6 says, all signs on the property shall be subject to the sign requirements of the town sign code. And then it talks specifically about the sign separately, and that's the only
Okay.
exception. So,
I'm okay with it then. If Kirsten's okay with it and that, if you feel like it reads that way, I didn't understand the correlation of the backstory.
yeah, yeah.
Now I do it, so I'm okay now.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds like we're good with that.
yeah, if Dick's okay with heck. He's the highest bar to jump over.
It's not that high. I have one more small, really, really small, hopefully it's housekeeping, as Jeffrey puts it. 6.4, when we're waiving the fees. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna beat that horse, but I think everybody knows how I feel about that, but, I would like to add in excluding, sewer and water. Just, I think that's been agreed to, but I'd like to have that in writing, so we're not waiving sewer and water.
But there might be other fees that we're not waiving that then would be confusing, right?
Or maybe say that these are the only fees we're waiving, is those two. Just be really specific that, so there could be no confusion. 6.4.
I'm not confused. I didn't bother to ask for the water or sewer, so I don't know why it'd show up.
Shall waive all applicant and permit fees. Is applicant specific enough? I guess I look at that as kind of a general term.
So we generally don't waive the PIF, right? That's
N-
per our code. So, I have no problem putting that in there, but to, Mayor Pro Tem's point, if we start enumerating things, we want to be careful that we don't miss something. So I think that's something we should look at a little bit closer.
Kirsten, when it says without limitation, could we remove that?
I would probably want to spend a little time with this and talk to Mark and Chris a little bit further before figuring out what we want to do here.
Do that before tonight?
Yeah, I
Just,
think
just to
so.
protect the applicant and us. I mean, we're spelling out what the applicant wants waived and the rest of council agreed to it. I just want to make sure that we're very specific saying, you know, that is all we're waiving.
Yeah, that we don't end up waiving something we didn't realize.
Correct. Just limit it to what's been.
Okay, Mark and Chris, do you have any?
Wonder if you could just
Strike without.
say,
limit.
say, strike part of the first sentence, say the town shall waive the zoning application fee, impact fees, and development permit and building permit fees.
Yeah.
An infrastructure permit. We just say specifically the ones we
Yeah.
will exempt.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking for, is just to make it that narrow.
Okay, if that, yeah.
And I think
that's easy.
that's what we all agreed to, so we're not really at, you know.
Well, I got
agreeing
approval
with
from the
it.
back bench too. This is okay.
Get over your shoulder, Mike.
Aged out.
I'm talking
You
to
and
one
me
that's
both,
really
dude.
doing all the work.
Everyone else in the room understands who's doing the heavy lifting.
Okay, with that, is there anything else the council has regarding the
I'm letting you-
annexation and development agreement?
Do you guys have concerns with that, young Mike?
We just want to hit tonight. Yeah, make sure that things need to change, modified. Second, would also be a second option. If we're not.
Well, I think we're just simplifying this, really.
I think we're gonna make it.
Great.
All right, anything else? Yeah.
Can I just clarify one thing? In 4.1.6, that's where you have that you'll install and connect to the town's preferred provider for fiber. It doesn't say, so so the council's aware, unless it's connected to every unit for the bulk price, there is no bulk deal.
Mm.
Right? So as I read this, you'll connect to
We're gonna,
600 and then it'll be up to the folks who are in the building to decide if they want to take it or not. So that's different from the bulk deal that we've done at some of our properties where it's included in the rent and everybody has that as part of their.
They gotta get something, yeah.
Only allow our information and.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully hooking up to it will give us the
Leg up.
leg up because it's
Yeah.
already there.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, it's a better service.
Yeah.
I've said this so
Totally.
many times.
All right. All right. Any other questions, comments? All right, Mark, anything else for us?
Just the next item.
Okay. So we are going to move on to Entrada zoning ordinance.
Thank you, Kelly. So in conjunction with any annexation, the property being annexed needs to be placed into a zoning district. And so this, this will place the Entrada property within Land Use District 5. And this is a first reading on that. It's been previously identified as Land Use District 5 on our existing land use guidelines map, but this will officially place the property within Land Use District 5. Planning Commission has previously made a formal recommendation to approve this. We actually did that back over a year ago when this was last discussed. But anyway, glad to answer any questions you might have.
All right. Any questions on this for Mark?
Mark, what are the other areas that are in Land Use District 5 right now?
Let's see. A map right here. It's a pretty small area, Jay. I do believe it includes the mini storage to the Marty's mini storage. And then across the street, kind of beyond the 7-Eleven area.
Yep.
It's all unincorporated right now.
Like the liquor store and Brexubi, is that?
Yeah, all
fine?
that
Yeah.
stuff is kind of
Yeah.
part of it. So we, as you remember, we just did that 3-mile annexation plan. So we take these land use districts and we put them on properties outside of our town boundaries, because we say if they do become annexed, this would be appropriate. But now we actually have to take the formal process of putting it in the land use district.
So there's no other places that are 5.
No, that's, to my knowledge, it's pretty much specifically right to that corner there in French Creek. And just for clarification, what this allows Land Use District 5, and we already have a proposal, but it allows service commercial uses, allows up to 10 units per acre for lodging type uses, and then workforce housing is another exception.
Does this do anything precedent wise to the property to the south, the 7-Eleven?
No.
Okay.
That would be
This one?
firmly in zone 3, I would imagine.
You want
Yeah, I
to-
think you're right.
It's hard to tell from this map. What?
Or maybe 4.
4 it looks like.
Yeah.
3 it looks like is all the way across the street.
It's a Himmel's time.
All right. Anything else, Todd, on this? So this is a go? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks to the whole team and on both sides that worked on this hard.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks especially for all the workforce housing rents work. I know you guys have been nonstop for the last couple of weeks on that, so thank you very much.
Staff deserves the credit.
That was good.
That goes without saying.
So you know.
For sure it's not council.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys very much. All right, the IGA with Summit Combined Housing Authority for Executive Director Services.
Mayor and council, so we've been talking about this for a while. Summit Combined Housing Authority has been in desperate need of an executive director. In the memo, I described the process that they went through. They interviewed 4 candidates. They were all internal to either the county, the housing authority, or the town of Breck. Corey Burr was chosen as the candidate. And this agreement between the town and the housing authority spells out the details of our loan of Corey Burr over to the housing authority. The agreement is for 1 year. I expect that they may want to extend it for another year, but we can decide that at the time of request. I think I highlighted everything in the agreement that would be of specific interest, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh,
They're lucky.
yeah. they
Any
are.
questions?
I don't think they could
No,
have had a better person.
yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
They're very lucky, but
Yeah.
the whole community's lucky because now we'll all benefit from her.
Well,
Instead of
then
just
Neil,
keeping
but I
her
said
for
no.
ourselves.
Bill wanted me bad.
All right, anything? No. Anything else, Shannon? All right, thank you very much for that. Managers report, public projects update. Sorry, but it passed.
Way ahead of schedule.
Oh, we're just gonna plow right on through.
Well, we're gonna have to talk about the welcome to the kingdom sign for about an hour.
Oh, jeez.
I'll help you, Deborah. You're on time and everything.
Runs a tight ship.
You guys need to stop celebrating. Hi, Shannon.
Couple of things to discuss with you that aren't in the memo,
See, she's bringing more.
which are not the kingdom sign.
You do or don't? Oh,
As you know, Excel Energy has a mobile LNG site off of Coin Valley Road in Highway 9. Agreement with us expires May 1st. May 1st. They are asking for a few additional weeks due to the weather to do the final cleanup and removal of some piping.
2 weeks.
A few weeks. I would probably give them 4 weeks to be safe.
No, so extend it to June 1st.
They've already started pulling the trailers. They're gonna pull most of the fencing, but there is a small run of pipe that they need to excavate to do, and it's not really great weather to excavate right now. So they would fence in that pipe to protect it. I wanted to get a read from the council if we were open to extending their lease or not.
Jen, do they have any responsibility to restore that land to the way they found it with, you think about May and June when, trucks are driving on there and,
They do, however, we will be moving straight into the construction of the McCain Access Road. So we don't want to have them spend too much time and effort restoring and revegetating if we're just going to come pull it up again. So I'm working closely with them and we're going to pull in the contractor. We'll discuss McCain Road next, but we'll pull in that contractor to make sure that's all coordinated.
Right. Is there a way to, in the favor category, like document that we're doing this as the kindness to our heart? We may call on that for.
Remind them that they owe us.
That's right.
We were super kind with the amount of space and stuff they had out there because it has grown like every week.
They are very appreciative of our partnership
they are.
on this.
it's only a matter of time if they
Site.
lower the rates, I'm sure.
I think we do have a good working relationship with the Excel team currently.
Is there anything we need currently at the stables from what was left over last year that we want to work into this? As far as like, they were having issues with, we were having issues with the stables and getting electricity there or not electricity, I'm sorry, gas, not gas. What was it?
It was the Excel line.
Yeah, it was the electricity
We were
line, yeah.
going out to the road and down, and then we're gonna go behind and through, I think,
Oh,
right
that
off the
one.
corner of their property.
We thought we were gonna dig it under the river and then we
Yeah.
decided not to.
That-
That one.
I am not up to speed on how that easement acquisition is
Mhm.
going, but we can bring an update.
Just seems like it'd be a good time to bring that up. at the
Talk
same
that
time.
about them. I like it. And also, does this mess with your timeline for the road?
It does not. I'm bringing the two contractors together to make sure that we are not causing any conflict.
They do want a meeting with us again to talk about another location for this site, which they said they were good. They were going to talk to private folks. They've talked to the county and now they want another meeting with us. So we'll see what they have to say.
Because the need for this mobile site has not disappeared. We still have the demand that's over capacity of the system, but we have told them that the coin site is off the table.
I feel like we did hear sustainability wise that they're taking like 6 months to turn on people's solar panels. So maybe that's another
Hmm.
thing that we could
Discuss.
make a list of.
Mhm.
That's a good one. Prioritize that.
Do we feel comfortable extending their lease?
Yes.
McCain Road, open bids. We had one bidder, Schofield Excavating. We've worked with them in the past. They're a great company and it is well under the current budget. I knew it'd be coming in under budget. We had discussed at least a $3 million savings. The bid was at $3.4 million. I do anticipate there will be.
$6 million savings?
I do anticipate there could be some large change orders for unforeseen conditions in the existing soils out there, sort of like we saw with Alta Verde 2 and with Stables. So I didn't include that in the base bid, but we would add that on as we discover unsuitable materials. So I think we could have up to $1 million in change orders pretty easily once we get to work. So I'm thinking this is about a $4.5 million project at this point.
Half price?
They should really listen to our council meetings.
4.5 instead of 9.5?
Just a few weeks ago, Alta Verde 2 did a good portion of the road. We got a lot of the grading
Yeah.
done with the river.
Yeah.
We've pulled out the rec path, we've pulled out the sidewalks, we've pulled out the lighting. So all of those things combined give us that bulk savings.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, no kidding.
We can use that money in the capital fund for future McCain projects. We can discuss appropriating it to other projects.
I think we already spent it.
Might have already
I
spent
know.
it. But yeah, so I was very happy with the bid, but there is a lot of room for
Yeah.
Nice job.
costs out there.
Are we gonna hear from the other contractor, do you think?
Here from,
The first bid that was,
we only received one bid.
oh, okay.
It was a single bid situation, but I think it's a good bid and they're familiar with the job, so I don't think there's a lot of risk there with the
Great.
single bid situation.
Crazy.
And those are my only added updates. I'm happy to answer any questions from anything in the memo.
I know you're trying to outlast me on the Kingdom sign. Don't think that goes, you fool me.
Limited, last I checked.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeffrey,
Carry that
I have a
flag.
plant. I'm gonna have a
we
plant.
have plenty of time. Meg Kelly's got us way ahead of him. He's gonna have to-
The sign behind it is
Oh, yeah.
firmly a part of the Blue River Pathways project, Jeffrey, I promise.
Not believe when I see it.
There are a lot of
I like the sign.
trash enclosures that we can include it in.
Memories of it.
My legacy.
Not open space and trails. That's just small potatoes. Okay, anything else?
Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon. Matt, mobility.
Mobility.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Mobility update in the packet. There are 2 questions of you, but before that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I just gotta say, I love the app. Anyone that can't figure it out, I think is lacking.
Clearly.
Good to hear. And I heard Kelly and Jay had some issues earlier, so.
Yeah. I've been, Liberto's been mentoring me, so I'm,
Fantastic.
Great numbers, Matt.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Ridership has been great on the free ride, so. We are definitely seeing it start to tail off quickly right now, so I'm happy with the decision to change over to summer service next Monday.
Are we
Yeah.
cool with the electric bus parts and stuff? I know our electric bus company was in transition. But we can keep our buses, electric buses, okay?
No.
No, we're struggling through that. If you haven't noticed, the buses are generally not out there right now.
Yeah.
It's mostly just due to a parts kind of transfer over from the old company Proterra to the new company Phoenix. They're just having issues getting things upright.
Yeah.
And I have confidence they'll get there, but we are definitely struggling. I think only one of the buses is operational at the moment.
So over the course of the summer, that could be figured out. You
I would hope much sooner than that, but yes.
So that explains why the trolley's running up the scary.
That's what, it was like running the purple route the other day.
Last ditch effort is when we either have to cancel or out, we're gonna run the trolley. So we don't want to do it, but we have had a lot of positive feedback out
Oh,
of it,
I
actually.
love it.
People love seeing it. It's a little slippery inside, but it's a really cool bus, right? So
Matt, can you talk anything about snow staying in addition to what's in the packet of, has it been, I know the ridership has been decreased a little bit year over year, but what do you see moving forward?
I think this year has been unique in the sense of I-70 being closed quite a lot, and obviously that's in the packet. But I have noticed that the snow staying in general is doing discounts quite heavily. 50% discounts for some, for students and for specific people, which I think is great to get them on the service. But Mustang service in general has greatly increased. Pegasus service has greatly increased. I do think that there's a large demand for Snowstang, and I do think that January really impacted us negatively. But I think having faith in the system, it does work. I think that January just kind of had an anomaly for us.
That's good to hear. I did want your perspective on that. So you feel like we should continue to contribute to this effort?
I do. I think we kind of weigh the numbers at the end of the season, see how it looks. You know, if the weather in I-70 stays open, we can definitely take a deeper dive into it. But at this point, I would say we continue on with it.
Okay. Quandary. Yeah. Maybe just get people up to date on that quandary.
Yeah, so Quandary Shuttle and Parking. So the county has selected a contractor for this. Last year, we committed to provide up to $30,000 in subsidy to the program to kind of keep it upright. We also provided for free parking at the South Gondola parking structure for anybody that was utilizing the shuttle. They were given a pass basically to park at the gondola lot and ride the shuttle up there. It worked out really well. We really appreciate being in, partnership at the table with the county. They've involved us in the whole step of the way. So really, we're just looking for if we're still on the same page as we were last year with our support.
Same contractor?
Yes, it was selected as the same contract. I wasn't sure if that was out yet. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it is.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, so two questions is, are we okay with providing the free parking at the South Gondola lot? And are we okay with the not to exceed 30,000? And I think it was like 28 or 27 last.
18,000 wasn't that bad.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
What are the dates on that?
Yes, on both.
Specifically, I can't remember, but it's
It's a start.
early June and it goes till late September.
We haven't reached capacity in the South Gondola structure.
In this, yeah, so in the summertime, I think we had something like 7 or 8 days that we actually hit capacity, 4th of July, et cetera. But I don't have any concern that we would impact that negatively.
I think it's the opposite, Jay. I think we're working hard to get
Utilize
more
it.
people to use it. So this is great to introduce people to it and show people it's a great place to park and be close to town and, everything else. So I think it's positive. Yeah, me too. I agree, Dick.
Is it full in the winter? Ballpark.
I don't have the exact number in my head. I can pull it up. I would say 30 at best.
All right, so these two are okay with both? You're
I'm
okay?
supportive on both.
Yeah. Both.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right, any other questions, comments?
Do you have, and maybe I'm not today, but you still have the free ride logo in a lot of buses. We're gonna be turning that over to the transit app.
So the free ride logo itself is still out there, but
Or the-
my
the
free
app,
ride app,
yeah.
if you scan the QR code now, it's updated to the transit app. But yes, there are some that we'll get them swapped out as we can.
Great, you want to take us into sustainability?
Happy to take any questions. Mostly I'll take the questions and take them back to the brains, but you get me this evening and I do have Hayden here if we have any specifics.
Hayden.
Great to see you guys reaching out to some of the multi-unit associations.
Yeah, and it sounded like the Warriors Merc
Yeah.
folks were
That's a
thrilled
Bunch of people, so
Yeah.
great.
and they were really
Hayden
happy.
has done a great job of connecting with those people, answering questions. I mean, there's been a lot of nerves, but he has really settled the majority of them.
Yeah,
And then you guess that those fast chargers in the library are gonna be full quite a bit. I think there's been a lot of demand for that.
Yes.
In town, and especially as you see a lot of those the rental cars being electric, that they're in a hard situation when they come up here.
Right.
And so to have those fast chargers, those level 3s,
Yes.
I think that will be very advantageous. So,
They're going to be very well utilized. They should be on, they kind of are working, but they will be well utilized when they're officially.
They're doing electric rental cars?
yeah,
Really?
you see all the Teslas with the red plates?
Man, I don't know if this is your wheelhouse, but a little bit off subject. Do you feel like we're on pace to to keep up with demand on EV chargers?
I would say we are well set up. I would guess Shannon Smith has maybe some more, but the parking structure has very good infrastructure. It's ready to basically plug them in there. So I would say we're well on par with where we could be. We might even be ahead of some of our neighbors. So I would feel like we're going the right direction. There's still grants out there to help fund those opportunities. So I feel good with where we're headed.
I think it'd be good in the annual parking report to include some of that EV data in there. And I will say anecdotally, those spaces in the parking garage on days when the garage is busy, those are getting filled.
They're always
Yeah.
filled. Yeah.
And also maybe some reporting on the pace at which we're adding EV chargers and
Mhm.
what kind. Just so we can kind of track that. Because I have to think there's a tipping point coming when EVs take over gas and, and then how how the curve explodes at some point. Are we in position to be ready
Yeah.
for that?
Can we
is
even get
really my
chargers?
question.
at that
Yeah.
point? Yeah. Good question. Only since the library parking lot was brought up and the EV chargers, James, at the north end of the library parking lot, the snow stack is completely in front of the sidewalk access. Can we get that pushed a little bit, please? Thank you very much. Any other questions for Matt on sustainability or Hayden? People have been saying that the answers to all the questions, so I think that's a great way for them to feel.
And
So
Hayden,
thanks for that.
you're doing a great job at the restaurants. Appreciate the work. I don't know if Jay, if you have anything to add, but I just, your presence at the meetings and the tools you're providing with Jay's work as well is phenomenal.
I like you too.
You know.
No.
All right.
A contentious group.
Oh, geez, like the Taliban.
Oh, boy. All right. Lori, please come talk to us about housing. Any questions for Lori with her?
Right, the minutes were from our last work group and were in the packet, so I didn't have anything to add except, we did have the Stables open house last Thursday, and the application period ends Thursday, a couple of days from now, so we'll see how this goes. I think the last time I looked, there were maybe about over 150 folks that have applied for those 22 units. So we'll see where we land.
22? I thought there was 65 units there.
Total.
Total. We're just in the second phase. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a question if no one else does. Lori, the total cost per unit in the housing helps is only $91,000. And like we regularly are doing buy downs of, 2 to, I think 400,000, maybe I'm wrong. Please correct me if I am. I'm just wondering if we should be a little more generous with this program, or if you feel like it's at the right.
We could think about offering a little bit more, paying a little bit more for a deed restriction, but the reason it's so cost effective is because, the county does split a lot of those, so it's the cost to us, after the county share.
So the total cost per unit, 91,000 town only, is probably not half because we have a bunch that we do without the
Right,
county,
right.
but that's not accurate as far as the total cost for the.
The unit, right,
Unit.
right. Yeah, because
Okay.
the county participates in a big percentage of these housing helps.
Okay.
At least they have to date. It makes it really cost effective for both of us to share in that cost.
Okay, so maybe the 131,000 is sort of more accurate.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you for clarifying that.
We always do, if we have a choice, we'd prefer the housing helps. When we see a unit come online for sale, we kind of wait and, hope that a local will want to buy it and then we can assist them with buying it as opposed to us moving forward with maybe a buy down.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions on?
On the monitoring violation update, what,
Yeah, a lot.
yeah, is that unusually robust, or is it just now there's added scrutiny, so we're kind of getting the violators of the scofflaws?
Oh, yeah. I would say we have upped our game in terms of monitoring.
Yeah.
Before, we had Matt, it was basic, such a light approach. Are you complying or are you not? But now we are really following up and making sure, that, we are checking all of these and, exploring a lot of things where in the past we might have said, okay, they've given us the affidavit. They say they're working. We don't recognize the business they're working for. Now we go the next step and say, oh, okay, actually that is a business that exists and, serves our community. So I would say we have upped our game in terms of violations for sure.
Or since we're ahead of time, I just want, just had a quick question on buy downs in general.
Huh?
And with the HOA dues really skyrocketing, has that changed your perception of what is worth purchasing and which ones aren't? And if we're just taking, I understand like the Gold Camp units are kind of off our radar now because of the HOA, but if that's happening at the villas and it's happening, at what point do we reassess what is a palatable amount, HOA fee and how that relates? to being
Well,
affordable?
it's definitely challenging times and we are sort of veering away from potential buy downs that come with an HOA at all. Just because we're concerned about the escalation of the dues and the impact on affordability. If you look throughout Summit County, the HOA dues are just going crazy. Wilderness, I heard the other day that there are HOA dues up to $1,000 a month in Wilderness. It definitely has impacted our sort of what we look for and what we're evaluating. And you might notice that we've been buying a few more single families. The last sort of multifamily that we attached was just a duplex and there was no HOA. So we're trying to avoid the HOAs going forward if we can. But some, and our focus really, we have certain, I think, neighborhoods and targets that we really are trying to focus on. The multifamily attached with an HOA is not a super high priority for us right now, unless it is like prime location and a prime unit in a complex that's that we can still sort of have a lot of locals staying in, but otherwise the HOAs are just driving us to avoid those.
Is the primary driver of that insurance as far as?
All the costs are going up. Insurance is certainly one that's really volatile. And, who knows what kinds of opportunities in the next few years there might be to sort of resolve that issue because it's impacting everything from the apartments to the HOAs. But, staff and utilities and all of that stuff is going up. And
I think
when we
it's-
look at the HOA fees,
Insurance is a big one,
Yep.
but it really is across the board.
everything.
Laurie, back to the monitoring,
Huh?
like on the Wellington issues, isn't that something with the HOA that deals with, that's something the town deals with?
Well, we are responsible for enforcing our deed restriction. The HOA doesn't enforce our deed restriction at all.
Okay.
So, we're there looking to make sure that the people who are owning those units, buying those units, occupying those units meet the terms of our deed restriction. The HOA doesn't really.
And how do we find, how do we find it, that, like the neighbors knock them out?
No, it's really the annual monitoring. We've gotten much better and spent a little more time on the results from the annual monitoring. Like I said, we used to say, okay, that one looks good, but it was such a cursory review of it. And now we are following up. We're going to be doing more auditing of sort of self-employed or businesses that are businesses that we don't recognize, LLCs and all sorts of things. So those might trigger a few more violations.
And no, when is like the monitoring, do they usually send out emails?
Yeah.
And when did they, have
But
they
once
done
a
that?
year, yeah, oh yeah, once a year, usually goes out late fall. And that's sent out by the housing authority, and then the housing authority used to do a initial review, but now we're doing that initial review.
Yeah.
And so we're really looking into them more than we have in the past.
What's going on with that North French Street place that you have in the packet?
I think we probably shouldn't talk about that
The
one.
specific one is,
Okay.
yeah,
Maybe for a site visit. Okay.
that's the one I do believe we have a hearing set on, so we probably
okay.
don't want to comment.
All right. Anything else? Thank you, Lori.
Well, thank you.
Okay, we don't have an open space, and I don't think we had any committee reports.
We had open space last night, but I'll give the report during, that. my
They're
time.
later.
You just do this to me?
I said you're later.
I think you did this.
All right, financials, please. We're gonna have a bathroom break.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Town Council. First of all, you have a memo from Pam on cleanup of the package on the financial package. So if there's any comments on that, I'll take them back. But it was really to try to clean up some of the notes and make it look cleaner, basically.
Mhm.
So, and then if we look at where we're tracking year to date versus budget, just on our excise fund revenues, we're up a little bit, mainly in sales taxes. We're running ahead a little bit of what we did with our budget assumptions, which is good. And so we're going to probably continue to see that trend in a favorable way, I feel, through the year. Compared to last year, we're basically flat. So, that kind of holds true on the sector analysis when we look at year-to-year comparisons on our various sectors for taxable sales. The one thing I'll note is our grocery is up about 14% year over year. That's the result of our compliance program. We got a payment in January.
Mhm.
So that's making if I took that out, we'd be about flat on grocery. Okay. So speaking of compliance, we had a meeting today on our sales tax compliance program. We're at about 504,000 since we started it,
Mhm.
which has brought in tax revenues for the town
Yeah.
in about 1 year. So that's good. And there's really no other, I would say, sector things really to call out from my perspective. As we talked about, we're really 1 month into the year. On the red side, we did have a pickup, which is good in February. So we're tracking, I'm on page 257, but we're tracking now from a rep perspective, a little bit ahead of budget, which is good. And then jumping to our, I'll call it our income statement for the town, our summary schedule. We're running about 2 million ahead on revenue, just for all of our funds, all of our 20 funds. And, we already talked about sales tax kind of running favorable. That's driving most of that. And then our spend is running a little bit down so far. I'm not going to say that's going to carry on. A lot of that's project phasing of timing. So, but that's where we are so far from a year-to-date perspective, about 800,000 favorable. So we're about I cannot read that number, about 3.5 million, let's say, favorable on a net income perspective year-to-date. And that, I think I'll open up to any questions.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, someone asked me this and I texted Shannon and she sent me something that confused me more. What percentage of our budget is sales tax? Ballpark.
51% is what I calculated.
Ballpark.
That
No,
has
here's what
other
I'll say.
things in it.
And that's the
Yeah.
problem. It's not an easy, like, here's all the revenue streams and here's sales tax. some variability in that number depending on what you're comparing it against. So that's a good number.
Is that
But
a number I
think-
can bandy about?
Mm,
30 to 40%. That depends on how you want to look at accommodation tax.
Okay,
So if I pull that out, it'd be probably about 30 or
good
40%.
enough for me, Dick.
Yeah. I'd feel good about that.
Yeah. No one expects accuracy.
Sales tax including accommodations tax.
It's 51%.
Oh, I keep calling you Dick, I'm sorry.
Great.
Yeah, yeah, I don't, it's just.
I can't hear very well.
You know what, I only have like a couple weeks left, so I'm not memorizing names anymore. So just.
I'm Dave. Good to meet you.
Okay.
All right, sorry, I should have done introductions. That's my fault.
No, I hear you. It's right there. I see it.
Dave, great job to you and the team.
I was thinking about
Just
Dick
keep getting
Calvin.
better.
Yeah, and I actually really appreciated you taking out a bunch of those notes because some of them
was-
were there
yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much. I think we're going to take a little bit of a break because Jeffrey clearly needs one. Just 5 minutes or so?
Yeah. Make sure everyone comes back.
Do your breathing.
My what?
Your breathing. Kate.
Granicus?
No, for my email.
I think we're ready, Helen. Okay, we're gonna get started. We get a presentation on the new website design.
Oh, la di
Oh.
da.
I probably should have waited till Brooke came.
Yeah, and I apologize that Brooke had an emergency, so it's gonna be me. and
Great,
she
then
will
you're here. You don't have to apologize.
Live in the middle.
So we have in our packet the screenshot. You gonna walk us around the website, Helen?
Just a little bit,
Okay.
and you can ask questions. Hopefully you all have seen it.
Did you guys go on it?
No.
I'm most happy about the calendar accessibility to open
Oh,
space
sorry.
Zoom meeting. That's my primary use
I
of the
just
calendar.
texted Helen and asked her for it.
What's this Harry Styles? He's on a website?
Yeah, he is.
He running for council?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Been comer.
He's gonna become number one, I think.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Here. Things. Okay, so. If you haven't already seen the town website, so basically this was a refresh. And that's explained in the memo. We stayed with the same provider. We stayed on the same platform, which means the back end of the website for us as staff looks the same. We really tried to update colors. We tried to update images. We tried to update graphics. And as part of this process, Brooke did an amazing job analyzing where people were getting their information. She worked with Granicus, which is the provider for our website now, as well as our agenda management. It used to be Vision Internet. They were purchased by Granicus a few years ago. So we used heat mapping and live testing with a user group to determine what links were working well and which things were not. And then Brooke basically mapped the entire site and tried to pare down old pages and put menu items in places where they might make more sense. We also used a consultant through Granicus to make suggestions about menus and how they should be worded and what they should look like. And this is basically where we ended up. In the end, it's not terribly different from how it was organized before, but it is a lot cleaner. And the content that is there is good, accurate content. We are still working through a few little bugs. We only launched it a couple of weeks ago, and so we keep finding little things that we'll correct. So bear with us as we do that. But I think generally it's a lot cleaner of an experience. In the memo, there were some screenshots of what the menus used to look like. They were, as big as the page. And so one of the things we're doing moving forward is to implement a approval process for pages and content so that we can better control what's added by staff. Because as you know, when staff turns over, it just, you lose a lot of the knowledge every time you have a new person adding content or trying to add pages. So we're really hopeful that we have a good handle on this site right now. And it's probably important to explain that this is the main Town of Breckenridge site. We have what are called sub-sites for recreation, transit, and golf. Recreation, free ride, and golf. And those sites were not touched by this remodel, but we do hope to do those next. And it would be a similar process for those: cleanup, refresh, general, better looking, newer front page. So as you can see, kind of these menu items on the side, these were the items that were identified as the most clicked items on our main page of the other site. And that's why they ended up in these buttons on the right. And almost all of these, I believe, go to external sites. I think they all do. Or, they bump you to another site. So if it's to Go Breck,
parking goes to our parking providers. Sustainability has their own website, so does housing. Recreation, obviously, that subsite I talked about, and jobs goes to our jobs provider. So we have a video component down here, and we are going to highlight videos throughout the year. I think this is a nice feature. People really do like videos, and they'll watch them over reading like a press release. We do still have the press releases in the news section. And that section with the news and the calendar essentially stayed the same. And then at the very bottom, we have the links to the Facebook page, our Facebook page, and our Instagram. So you can kind of get a graphic of what we've had out there recently. So I really want to give props to Brooke because she did so much work on this and really went through literally every page of the site. And I think, I don't even remember how many pages we had. We had hundreds of pages on the site that had barely been touched over the last like 10 years with Vision. So we're really pleased about where it ended up, and we hope that you all enjoy it too. It is ADA compliant, and we are adding another layer of ADA compliance to abide by that new state law, the Colorado state law for ADA accessibility for information and technology that takes effect in July.
My one question is it still as seamless to get a comment to mayor and council?
It should be, yeah, it should be the same.
Because that's what I refer people when they say, "Oh, I'd like to send an email." I said, well, go to the website and that way you.
And I
can
apologize that I am not as familiar with it as
Go to
Brooke is.
I think
I think it's government.
government. And then
yeah,
mayor and
get
council.
Connected.
Connected, maybe.
This is how you can sign up for the e-notifications. Hold on. Yeah, and again, I'm maybe not the best person. Staff directory, there's a staff directory. Jeffrey, we'll make sure that that's in a
Okay.
good spot. I'm not super
was
familiar
Google
with where
before.
it was before, so I will tell you that there's a really great, we have this quick links page that has hopefully all the services that people use most often. This is what we've identified as things that people needed in terms of forms. And again, all of these forms will be ADA compliant with this new provider that we're adding on a layer to the site. And there is it's kind of hard to see, I think, the service finder feature up on the top here. Sorry, it's kind of underneath this bar, but the service finder is a new feature as well. And so it's how do I, and then you do contact. So let me see, town
So-
staff. Oh, mayor and council there.
Dick found it really easy.
Go to mayor and council and then it says contact mayor and council. And you can click it.
On the service finder.
Helen, do you happen to know if a lot of the BTO's good work on their guest facing site as well as the the resident employee side made it onto the website, or those connections from like One Breckenridge as well as Go Breck?
Yeah, I mean, I know that the GoBrec page is right here for visitors. We really wanted to make that front and center because what we found was a lot of people end up on our site when they're really looking for the tourism-based site. And then I believe the One Breck is under business resources, under community, business. So we really, again, tried to highlight the other entities that were doing a lot of work in the community this way.
That's great.
Let us know if you have any feedback. We haven't had a ton of feedback on the site yet, but we'll probably get
Any
it.
other comments? Helen, I was clicking through just all the links, and when you click on parking, it goes to the first thing is about the South Gondola Lot employee, like if you scroll down a little bit. And it makes it look like this made it look like the South Gondola Lot to me was an employee lot. And I think most people know that it's not, but I kind of wish we were like really pushing people, like the landing page was park at the South Gondola Lot for all your needs. So I'm just wondering if we can maybe have just look at this with a fresh set of eyes and make sure that that's,
So this is Breck Park's website,
uh,
so Matt can chat with them about that.
okay.
That'd be great. Yeah,
Thank you, Matt.
it's out of my purview.
And
Sorry.
then I have been asked a ton of times about, like, when is Alta Verde? When is the Stables lot? And so I was wondering if on the housing landing page, if we could have basically by stuff listed either by date or a timeline or something that just makes it a little more, instead of having to read so many words, especially for people who aren't reading English as their first language, that they could just see like, next thing, lotteries, Stables lottery. After
Yeah.
that, it would be,
Yeah, actually, and that is something we hope to improve. I know our communications team is working with housing to improve this site and to kind of pare down the verbiage.
yeah,
Because
because
I
it's a great
agree,
site,
it's a
but
lot.
just really a lot of.
Yeah, and I think once we get through this Stables lottery, we'll have a little bit of time to work on that next Vista Verde, whatever it is.
Just keep calling it.
Yeah, those pieces and the timelines associated with that, which I don't believe are very well set yet. So
Okay,
I
maybe
think we'll
that's
have
the
a lot
problem.
more information once we
Okay.
get through.
All right, any other comments on the website besides that it's terrific?
Yeah, what if I texted Brooke and said, well done?
Yeah.
Thank you. I really, like I said before, I mean, Brooke did so much work on this and I really think she needed all the credit. So
Okay. Well, thank you very much for helping us through it.
Great.
In Brooke's spot.
sure.
Outdoor water irrigation discussion. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, Town Council. We're here to have some brief discussion on the memo that was part of the packet and the one pager that was provided by HC3. This proposed change that we're for outdoor watering, I do want to just provide a little bit of background, but as part of our town code and ordinance right now, we do have watering days that are identified for the days of the week. Really, the changes are very minor, but the benefits are a lot greater in the long term of what we're proposing. But the changes that are proposed are really, as hopefully the memo outlined, really have to do with the days of the week and when you can water by your address, whether or not your address ends in an odd or even number of your house address or address or so forth. And I know there's been some discussion internally about how we're going to really address some of the areas of town. And one, I would just want to maybe just put it out there for a specific case would be as for like Wellington neighborhood, where we've already identified that there's 14 water meters as part of Wellington neighborhood and Lincoln Park. And of those 14 water meters, currently 10, but I'm believing already that Chris in Water Collections has already assigned a number to those additional 4, but all 14 of those will have either an odd or even ending number. So that's how we'll go about, or those meters will know which days of the week that they can water on by the proposed changes. So, and then the only other minor change that's being proposed as part of this is really just changing the hours of watering, going from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., moving that back 1 hour.
So you can't water in the daytime?
Correct.
That always been the case?
That has always been the case, and that's really our main way that we are able to quickly detect or identify people that are not watering correctly is when we see the sprinklers going in the daytime. Obviously, at nighttime, there's not as much, we're not out there at night, obviously. So
you can't put a attach a hose to a sprinkler and water a select part of your shrubbery during the day?
Well, actually, there are some exemptions that are part of the code. And it's all contained in that section 12.1.1. And if you do have drip irrigation, there are a few things that are exempted. But you still have to be respectful of the days of the week that you can water. But actually, the way that the code is written right now, you can water during the day with drip emitters and so forth. But the big thing that we're trying to really address are just the rotor heads or the bigger, turf areas that are being watered. With that, I've also, Rachel Zerowin is here with HC3. And as I identified in the memo, hopefully, a big piece of this is going to be the public outreach and the education. And this is really, HC3 is really the one that will be handling that. And I know she's already met with Brooke here with the town and doing some outreach with some of the irrigation companies, even as early as last year already. So some of that's in play right now, but I'd be happy to take any questions. And I know Rachel is prepared to answer some questions as well in terms of the public outreach.
Questions?
My question's really on public outreach and, I think Shannon and I were talking earlier about this and how typically it's on your water bill. And I think many of us don't open our water bill or even whether it's email or physical, and what other ways we can get this out as far as the change. As I would imagine I'm guessing most people wouldn't even know that they're supposed to water on certain days depending on what side of Main Street they are right now. And so how do we bring that awareness that, hey, we're changing something that you never knew anything about?
Great question. And I think the example that you just gave that a lot of people already don't know, by changing the code just a little slightly, that allows us, so Frisco's already updated their code. They're going to do their second reading tonight. A couple of the smaller water providers throughout the county have already updated their voluntary restrictions on their websites. And what this does by everybody across the county aligning on those restrictions, it allows HC3 to go out with a community-wide message on all those traditional channels that you're familiar with, whether it's radio or Google Display or social media, or I don't know yet about print, but likely print, for us to spread that message more widely. Because right now, or at least as of, just a few weeks ago, we couldn't do that if we wanted to because everybody's were so different. So we're going to use a lot of those regular marketing channels. And like James said, we already talked to Brooke about what does that communication look like from the town to the residents, because that's a component. Certainly with the Water Smart billing software, there's opportunity there to directly message customers in their bills, whether that's online or, like you said, nobody actually reads it, but that's okay. And then landscapers is another big piece of the component, because a lot of times those clocks are managed by professionals. So we've kind of been talking to landscapers about it. When we started talking about this, we got some feedback from them. So they're a big piece of this too. So I see outreach as being public outreach across the county, again, on all those familiar channels, town communications as Brooke and Laura see fit, and then also the industry outreach, which of course HC3 is prepared to do, as well as the county outreach. So
Is it at all, like, most people would not water for 3 hours straight, right? Huh? Really? Yeah, because with the day's time to water 6 p.m. to 9 a.m. I mean,
It's the window.
so, yeah, so,
Well, I'm sorry, I missed.
yeah, I would hate to think someone would say, oh, I can water all day until 9 a.m., all night until 9 a.m. I mean, I guess people have determined how long it's,
That's why we make it cost.
yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, I think coupled with, some of the changes and the big change that's beneficial is going to that monthly billing. So I think a lot of folks are going to be able to see their usage, not quite real time yet. We're working on that as well, but they'll be able to see kind of, how much water is being.
I missed that. I
Fast.
thought it was 9 p.m., not 9 a.m.
So I think you said this probably, but I missed it. So in a house, just on a regular street, it would be, your meter would be the same as your address. But then if you're in a multifamily or in a workforce housing, then the meters are different than your address. Is that true?
Correct. In some cases, there's a master meters. For instance, there's 14 master meters in the Wellington neighborhood. And so the permitted times for watering will go off that, the ending number, odd or even. And as Rachel said, a lot of cases, these are done by contract or
Right.
irrigation companies. So it's really working with them to make sure that they understand when those periods are permitted for watering those bigger areas.
Right, but then if someone came to us and said, how do I know if I'm even or odd? You could say, it's your address. Unless you live in a multifamily.
Right.
Or no, how do I find out besides on my bill, what if I water on a even or odd? It's not tied to my address?
Well, it would be tied to your address. I guess what you're describing, Kelly, if I may, is if you have a specific need to water some of your flowers or trees or something that's different than the bigger greenscapes or the
Well,
bigger
like, so in the
landscapes.
Wellington neighborhood, for instance, there are sprinklers, but there are tons of locations on the grass that they don't have a sprinkler system. So you either hand water or you put your sprinkler out. So you need to know which nights are appropriate for you to be doing that on.
Right, and that
Just trying to figure out how would
And that-
someone find that information? Only on the bill?
Well, it would go off your address in that case. If you have specific needs to your property, it would go off your actual physical address.
Okay, so if you put your hose with a sprinkler on it out and you're at, 28 Rodeo,
Mhm.
then you'd be on even,
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
okay.
On the-
So it is by your address?
Yeah, it'd be by your address.
Okay.
And I guess when I'm saying the master meters, that has more to do with those bigger green areas, like the greens and stuff like
Okay.
that.
So every individual can figure this out easily based on their address.
That's the hope. There, we recognize that there's gonna be, some learning curve and education of this.
I do wonder too, like, if we could get a cool poster to put up like at the rec centers. I feel like that's someplace where a lot of people go. I don't know, nothing else comes to mind. I mean, maybe the libraries or something, but just maybe to reinforce some of that electronic media that we're doing.
Must be a mind reader because that's exactly what she suggested.
She is a mind reader.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the greater opportunity here is, as Rachel kind of mentioned as well, is just really raising awareness to water usage and conservation. We recognize that there's been some changes within the water utility here recent, so people might feel like they're getting, there's a lot of changes being made. But this one, coupled with the fact that we believe there will be some both operational and energy savings that will go along with this, certainly as I outlined in the memo, reducing some of the demand on some of those pressure zones from an operational perspective will really be beneficial for us. So hopefully we'll be able to, like I said, it'll come out in energy savings as well. So next time we're talking about potential rate adjustments, maybe it won't be some of those changes won't be as great. So.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, guys. I like the consistency community-wide. That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, that's great. Countywide helps. I think the nighttime is new, isn't it too?
No.
It's always been at night.
Oh, has it really?
Yeah. And again, the
Ellen does the watering.
If I was going to say, if I could jump in on that one, it does allow those larger properties that are watering zone by zone because they're not cranking all their zones at one time. They're going from zone to zone to zone and ideally doing a cycle and soak method, which is a bit more effective where you let it run and then it soaks in and then you water again rather than just applying water consistently over a period of time. So for those larger properties, the overnight watering allows them to hit all their zones in that efficient cycle and soak watering style.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Water at 7, so that's legal. See, I consider that daytime.
Oh,
See, that's
in the
what-
morning.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I knew Ellen was following
Yeah,
that. That was
no, she's a rebel
about watering. I
on
got it.
everything.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Tonight we'll have the hearing for the temporary structure for the pilot food and beverage delivery program. Any questions about that process tonight?
Yeah, so this is only process questions, so we're not getting into any specific questions. Anything for Sarah?
What do you mean process questions? Between specific and,
Well, you can't ask any questions right now.
Because we want the public hearing to be open for public comment tonight, so we don't want to say something now that people won't hear tonight.
We're basically having our work session tonight so that people can attend.
I get you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's good on the process?
All right, see you tonight.
Oh, that was quick.
All right, well, we ran scared through this agenda because of the last several agendas, but now we can do the report of the mayor and council members and anything, and we can do other matters. So, cast and MMC? We didn't have either because of the snow.
MMC got canceled.
Yeah, and cast, we already
and you
reported that on.
reported on cast.
Okay. Open space, it's your time.
All right. We had a meeting last night, a couple, and we're talking a little bit about, signage in the work plan RFP. And we've, kind of in the process of getting that out, trying to solicit some, RFPs, some bids. That will take into consideration etiquette as well as wayfinding. Talked a little bit about the Camp Hale, the Camp Hale Continental Divide National Monument access, and there's a grant for that. But really doesn't affect the town's property much at all. And Nikki LaRochelle is stepping in as vice chair. We had talked about the Lorien Trailhead options. And we kind of got some of the possibilities, some of the thoughts that how we could make that a little bit more user friendly. And my suggestion was that was something that we could talk about when we have our joint meeting. There's a couple of options that are really, I think would be user friendly. Personally, we wouldn't have to go into the meadow. That is one option, but there are other options that would kind of increase the number of parking possibilities for that area. And so we talked about that. Hopefully we'll bring that to account with our joint meeting. And that's, we had roast beef and that was awesome. Yeah. And I think that was about, you weren't there.
Just touch on like the dry gulch in Preston, the old Preston town and things that you
Yeah,
were talking
that's
about. I
right.
thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, we purchased Dry Gulch, I think 49 acres, and it's kind of a historical and not so much. There are some buildings with historical significance.
Extremes.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the options was Larissa came from BHA, and she said, well, one option would be to get rid of all the non-significant structures. Another option would be to leave it as is, and then trying to think of what we can possibly do, how we're gonna make the thing work, and whether, how we're going to direct people to it. Are we going to direct people to it? And so we kind of talked about that, and I think the consensus of the commission was leave everything as is. If there's anything that needs to be stabilized, which really isn't the case back there as much, there is a pretty substantial mine shaft that open space kind of secured, and it was like,
It's
Oh,
very secure.
yeah, so, but it wasn't for a while. I think down the road, if we ever have time, if BHA has the manpower, I think that'd be kind of a cool place to do like kind of bus trips, like a van trip, bring a family up there and do something with lunch or something like that, and let them kind of wander around. I don't want to make it, it's a non-motorized area. We have gates on either side, so you can't get there on your own in a vehicle. But down the road, that might be something we'd look at.
So you're saying summer only?
No, well, no, the other thing that was brought up, was it kind of a, like a hallelujah hut type scenario where there'd be one building there that would leave open and, that folks could ski into or, you know, a snowshoe fat bike into, and just kind of hang out, you know, have lunch or whatever. I used to have keys to all the buildings when Cooney owned it, and I'd ski up from Vista Point, you know, kind of hang out. There was like, he left Gatorade up there and it was kind of cool. And I think down the road, if we had something that was secure for, you know, that people could ski up and kind of make that their destination and then ski back down, that would be, and you could ski for all the, you know, you can either go from Wellington or you can go from the Jessie, either way, to get to the place. Or you could, you know, shuttle it, use our public transportation and shuttle it. So, those are the couple of the options. And,
I like that one.
yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And one of my big concerns was I want to make sure that those gates are secure so we don't have, you know, kind of the high school bonfires, type thing like we did at the B&B Trailhead. And they did assure me that those gates are pretty substantial and they, have designed so that, you know, even a two-wheel motorized vehicle can't get through there. So, yeah, I think there's a wealth of possibilities on this, and it's just a matter of how much time and that we can put into it, and if BHA has the manpower down the road to manage it.
What
Like,
about the garage?
what about it? The Quonset hut, you mean?
The corrugated
Yeah,
metal?
Quonset hut. You know, I think you know, so far, we're gonna leave that. Are we storing anything in that now at all? Probably not. But anyway, yeah, everything is gonna be left. Nothing's gonna be taken down. They're gonna hire a consultant to get up there and,
Why
take-
would we leave the garage?
why not?
Well, I mean, it's highly visible from everywhere around that. And
Mhm.
it's, I mean, there's for sure it's not historic. It's a huge
No.
metal corrugated pipe.
Well, I think the first,
I mean, that's old. I mean, it's not
It's not
significant.
that old.
I think the first step will be to get somebody up there, a consultant up there to see, kind of evaluate what is significant and what, you know, what we should save for sure. The garage, I mean, I suppose you could, you know, I don't even believe we even talked about it. Scott, do you have any sense on that, on the garage? That's Quonset hut, not the garage.
Quonset hut, we've tried to see if we can find a way to donate it.
Yeah.
Off of there, so that's kind of where we started.
Yeah.
I think I don't know that we have a taker yet.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things.
Okay,
But we agree that it's something that, I mean, it's not really usable to us so much, and so it's a matter of taking a look at it long term.
But I do think it's old.
yeah, it's wicked. And yeah, and it was kind of interesting. You know, the guy that brought a lot of the stuff up there was a guy called Glenn Campbell.
Yeah.
And then it was before Lee Frost had it. And, so, yeah, I think it's a gem, and I'm not too kind of tied to the historical significance of everything. I think it all is kind of cool. And so we get somebody up there that kind of can evaluate it, but, yeah.
Campbell's were Tiger Run tours, right? Way back when, yeah.
Yeah, back in the old days, yeah. So, did I miss anything?
No, but, you know, I did talk to Larry Crispell about this, a while back, and that's why I was so interested in the fact that he really believes that it could be a super fun family loop. And you know, especially if you go clockwise, don't go counterclockwise on cross-country skis, it's
Right.
trouble. But, and I agree, it's such a great resource, and to not make any moves immediate and to kind of slow roll this, I think is a great thing to do, and just to kind of see how it goes. But it's such a fun area, and it's great with kids too,
Yeah.
because you get to go somewhere where there's a destination, right? It's not just a loop.
And I think even for young, you know, for a younger family that probably couldn't cross-country ski up, if there was a possibility, if some sort of touring company would take a van, you know, a family up there or a couple families up there and, you know, have like a 3-hour tour and do lunch or snacks or something like that. I think that is, you know, like a possibility. One thing that was raised, that I wasn't too psyched about is, I guess it was some whispering that Summit Huts wondered if we were interested in something like that, to have some sort of that as a hut location, which I just can't imagine. It's just, yeah, I wouldn't support that.
You just station Todd on the bottom and he can pull people up.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that's about it.
Since you have time, do you want to talk at all about possible agenda items for the joint meeting? I think we have the Lorium. We're going to talk about trail, like, longer term trail planning, 2 to 3 years. And then probably a little bit about Cucumber Gulch and priorities for the Gulch. But is there anything else that you all were interested in adding to that list?
You know, I wouldn't, I think one thing we could talk about is, trail use, trail use and trail etiquette. We had a discussion, I wasn't there, you were on that meeting, about, there was some dissenting opinions as far as should we put trail etiquette signs for fat biking compared to, Nordic skiing, try to get a movement to try to suggest when possible to keep trails separate. Like, in other words, don't boot pack on Nordic trails. Or how much we want to groom for fat biking and yeah, so that might be something to talk about. I don't know if you guys are into that.
Shannon, will you guys be providing like a packet, or do we need to like read the packet from last night for BOSAC?
I think we will provide you with a packet of information and some links
Okay.
beforehand.
Yeah, like those Lorium options, I
Mhm.
think would be an important part of that.
Has it been discussed or has it been decided where we are with open space, of whether, I know we talk a lot about less new trails, more connectivity, and like, is all that predetermined? Is that predestined of what that looks like?
I think that would be a great item to talk about. Whether we should put emphasis on creating new trails or maintaining the existing menu of trails. And that would be a kind of an interesting, kind of take from the rest of the council on that. But that is something that we have talked about. Also, we have talked about, is Cucumber Gulch a recreation amenity or a nature preserve?
That's on the agenda for
Yeah.
sure.
So.
I'm sure it's not all or nothing. There's just some.
Yeah, that's, I think, what's so interesting
So
about.
what's the priority?
It'd be
Yeah.
good for this conversation because I feel like there's not really a right or wrong answer to any of these things. And so it's really important for us to know where they stand, them to know where we stand, and so that we can be somewhere in the middle.
I think the council generally can set the philosophy and the commission can weigh in as well. But I think a lot of this the direction comes from the council, where we hope they'll put their emphasis on.
And the trails discussion could also include how many of them need to be geared towards mountain biking with berms and jumps and all
Yeah.
that? And how many are just natural,
Yeah.
paths, trails?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all part of that trail set. I think that'd be real interesting.
Sounds like we have plenty.
I think you have more than enough.
Yeah, we'll chew up the time at that meeting.
All right, anything else for BOSAC? Tourism?
Nothing to report, but April 11th is the BTO summer preview here at 9 AM. And it's also online for anyone that wants to watch online, so that'll be good.
Great, that will be good. Let's see. I think we will skip, a lot of these are on second, so that's good. Todd, how about Rec Creative Arts?
Meeting coming up this week on Thursday, and then March 29th, Spyro Gyra is playing at the Riverwalk at 7:30. So if you like
wow.
jazz, go check it out.
Yeah, they're
Pretty
great.
cool. Great, and then Jay, Arts and Cultural Master Plan Steering Committee.
That's coming up on April 6th, 9th is what I meant.
Okay. Sounds like no big updates from Breck History. And yeah, all of Pearls are. That's the easy thing about having being in the second meeting. Other matters?
Yes. One thing that, it was talked about last night, in response to an email, and actually it's been kind of a buzz on Facebook, as far as, the south side of the Sally Barbara Trail, that is, goes through the new development, the Berlin Plaza. There is an agreement supposedly that is X amount of parking spots that you can park on the south side, on the Baldy side of Sally Barbara. And they have not, it hasn't been plowed or maintained. Sometimes there's no parking. The road heading towards that, the gate there is often just one lane. It hasn't been plowed. And, that's a county issue, but, Catherine King is reaching out to the developer to hopefully, see what's going on and try to light a fire under them. Certainly, probably it's a little bit late for this winter, but definitely to establish best practices on that. So we talked about that, and that, and that's something that, there's a lot of interest on that.
Yeah, Sally Barbara is such a main trail.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it'd be interesting to see what they came up with for the Lorium. There's some cool options there as far as
Do you
expanding
know how many
parking.
spots are at the existing Lorients?
14.
Okay.
Parking?
14 if you
Count them.
if you're tight. You know what I mean? If you do it well, but there's also.
Seven that you
If the
don't
first
fly into
person
people.
behaves.
He's like Rankin with his muscle truck to, to park diagonally and it all goes to hell. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've seen quite the mess up there.
Yeah.
Jay, other matters? Todd? Dick? Shannon, anything else we can?
Did you want to talk about our meeting this morning that we had with Lily from
What is
Health and
her,
Human Services?
yeah, Health and Human Services, is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a really nice discussion with this woman from, she's from the federal government, not even the state government.
Right.
And mostly she just came to talk to us about some of the things that the administration has done, and one of them being that they've taken the top 10 prescription drugs, and they've put some regulations on it so that either they allow some competition into that space or they're price capped. And so it sounds like, we talked about, that helps Medicaid folks. And in the long term, it would probably, help with prices across the board. But we definitely let her know that we don't have a huge senior population that's accessing Medicaid up here. And so we would be very interested in them broadening that program and looking at, popular prescription pills across the board, not just for a senior Medicaid, obviously.
Yeah. Seniors Medicare.
Well, so that's the thing, is that these would only benefit right now Medicaid,
Okay.
seniors on Medicaid.
I think it was Medicare.
Oh, it was Medicare? Oh, okay.
Medicaid helps younger people. Medicare is 65 and.
Oh, gotcha. But I thought it was an income restricted thing.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
But I also don't understand why, if they're negotiating prices, they wouldn't do it for both Medicare and Medicaid.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
so we did talk about that, there's lots of other prescriptions that people are accessing or having trouble accessing. So it was a good discussion. She didn't seem particularly empowered to go out and help us immediately, but definitely to bring some of our issues into the conversation. They had some women health. They're definitely trying to broaden maternal health and just access to healthcare. So we talked a bit about that, and of course, mental health and some of the struggles that we have here. I felt like she thought were unique, and
Mhm.
they're for sure not. So that was a little disheartening to me. It's like, where is the information going? But anyway, I think what the best part of the conversation is that now we do have someone who seems very clued into the different programs, because when we talked about different needs, she was routing us to some small interest groups or to particular people with the state. And so I know one of the things that we heard this week is that Anthem is no longer going, or likely not going to be accepted at Common Spirit anymore. And so they've sent out letters to their folks. And so we did talk about that, and she gave us some information on, here are some next steps of what we can do for our community just to raise the alarm.
And that's a huge alarm because it just continues to narrow the options. From what I'm understanding, I'm hopeful that it is a big corporate negotiation ploy.
Yeah.
And they're actually
Hopefully.
not gonna pull, but they
Right.
certainly could.
Right.
So, yeah, that could be a real problem.
Do we have any a relationship with Anthem, with St. Anthony? I mean,
No, I think that who we need to really lobby, the way I understand the situation, is the insurance commission with the state. I don't know, Shannon, if you've been a part of this, but I think they're really more the governing body that would most likely be able to have an influence on.
but Common Spirit's the one that decided that they're not gonna accept Anthem.
Sounds like it.
It's not the other way around.
Well, it's that they
Well, it's
couldn't
part of a
price
negotiation.
Right.
negotiations.
Right.
The negotiation fell apart, so I'm not sure which side you can blame.
Yeah.
I think that, oh, you have it, that contact, I think it's federal, right? But
So the Center for Medicare and Medicaid was the CMS is what she told us. That was a good place to start.
and I think there's somewhere in their paragraph where they also deal with the exchange. So
Oh, yeah.
maybe we could
Yes, they
reach
do.
out to them as
Yeah,
well.
they facilitate health insurance exchange information. Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
could
she gave
work
us.
with them, but I think the state insurance
Mhm.
commission is the most influential government body on insurance.
Absolutely.
Cause it's kind of governed statewide, is that
Yes,
right, Kirsten?
absolutely.
Yeah. And Dana, I don't know if you're up to speed on this either, but I mean, it's a huge problem. I know we're getting a lot of questions with our staff that's on our health insurance about that letter. It freaks people out.
It
Mhm.
does freak people out,
So-
As intended, feels like.
So it may be worth, Kirsten, I don't know if you could guide us on this, but maybe the legislative committee could bring this up and talk about it.
Yeah, that would
Because
be,
it may be worth a letter from the town to the insurance commission saying we're very concerned about this situation and, yeah, we'd have to be careful to determine how we word it and what we say, but the insurance commission, I've kind of tried to lobby them in the past on health insurance. And they're kind of a frustrating organization.
So Dana, does this affect our town insurance? Does not, okay.
Yeah, Anthem is a popular lower cost insurance. I give options and people looking for lower cost in my company, and you usually end up with Anthem. Right now, every year it seems to change. It was Bright Health, and then they dropped. And now it's Anthem, and so it's a very complex and moving piece, but it's a very important piece because the more of these we lose, the less options our workforce has to get affordable health care.
We're going through that now with Ellie, It's crazy.
So we'll talk, we have a legislative.
You
meeting
guys may want to
tomorrow.
talk about that in the legislative committee and see if it wouldn't make sense for us to fire a letter to the insurance. Yeah, talk to Julie. She's very
I'll ask her if
engaged on
she-
this.
what she thinks
Yeah.
we should do.
yeah, we should talk, I think, both about this and the property insurance to see
Right.
what's already happening.
Both of them, yeah.
Right, I have exactly that. Anything else from that meeting today?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we had some good connections and let's
Yeah.
get out of
Yeah, I
it.
think it was a good connection.
Yeah. I do have one other thing, well, two other things, I guess. So Mountain Dreamers has asked us to provide a letter of support. They've applied to get recognized and accredited by the Department of Justice to do some limited immigration law out of their office. So we have a draft letter. I believe Carol's taken a look at it. And if you are supportive of that, then we'll give it another once over and put something together to send out.
My feeling is Carol's supportive, I'm 110%. No, I mean, we so desperately need that in our community. And if Building Hopes, I mean, leadership board feels like they're the right organization, then I'm 100% on board.
Yeah, so it'll be Mountain Dreamers, and they are doing a lot with the newcomers to the community and trying to get those folks settled and yeah, it's definitely a need in the community, so if they have the bandwidth, we would support.
Great.
Okay. The only other thing that I had, I believe Kelly and Dick will be away during the CML conference, which is somewhere here, June 18th to the 21st. So it's in Loveland.
Lovely time of year.
It'll be a wonderful time of year in Loveland. But if you would let me or Peyton know if you'd like to go, she's reserved some hotel rooms, so just let us know. Unless you know now, which
I'll let you know.
you'll let me know. Todd, you'll let us know.
Won't make it.
You won't make it, okay? And then I'll talk to Carol and we'll obviously bring this up again because we'll have.
I think it's important to have representation.
It's nice to have representation there. It's not like CAST, it's a big conference. It's, you know, it is big, it's a lot of people, there's a lot of different sessions going on. So I don't know that you get quite the same ability, tight ability to network, but there's usually some good
California.
sessions. And Kirsten, I think, would you agree?
It's great.
I mean, it is definitely different and can be overwhelming. I think it's good to connect outside resort communities too, just to get other ideas. It's valuable, but it depends on, you know, how long you want to be there and what sessions you want to attend. I think you can get a dose of it in a day if you pick just a few that are interesting to you.
And I do think to that point, the value probably is more to us as individuals attending versus, yeah, there being, you know, them knowing that Breck is there.
Carol will be there.
Okay, great.
You reminded me though, that we've been having some, people come into the community who've needed some resources, either from the town or anyone who would give it to them. So nonprofits. I mean, I think the accepted terminology right now is maybe just some newcomers that have come by way of Texas, into Denver and then relocated, you know, across the state. And so our housing team, of course, has gone above and beyond and the county also has been working very hard to make sure that people get housed. But I did just want to let you guys know that Shannon and I were invited to participate in maybe kind of a bigger planning discussion. We won't be committing to anything, but just, you know, not only for the 1 and 2, what happens most of the time is that people are coming in, you know, it's one parent and a couple of kids. And so of course our preference is to get them housed right away and make sure that they're not living in their car or wherever, you know, with all those people. And so, we've been able to sort of work with the several families that have come, but, just in the interest of continuing to have resources available and know what the next steps are. I mean, I know that Shannon and Lori were, you know, on the phone at 7 a.m. on Friday morning trying to figure out where are we going to put some folks who just came and have no resources.
And they're up here for the work.
Yeah, I mean,
That way-
they're here because they understand that they can find work and they really are, the reasons, I think, have been described. And Shannon was part of those discussions, and it's, you know, very convincing and heartbreaking stories and what the result of them.
Yeah,
kind
I
of-
think, and you know, that a lot of folks are asylum seekers are coming from really horrible situations. And they've got to get out of that Denver area to try to find somewhere for their family to be and somewhere where they can find work. And it's heartbreaking to hear the stories, and then it's sort of worse when you know that there's a lot of folks that are in this situation and we can't help. There's just no way to help them all.
So I think it's important on a couple of fronts. One is just for the, you know, couple people who show up, but also if we did have, you know, 12 families, 20 families, a bigger group, what would we do? And right now we just don't have a plan. And so we wanted to be part of that discussion. And so we'll be meeting with the county, and then I think that'll just be the first step.
Mhm.
After that, we'll be kind of casting a wider net to the other municipalities and anyone, you know, obviously the nonprofits, and things like that. I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware that we're doing that.
I think not, it's important, you know, for the obvious reasons of taking care of people and, but also having a plan for if it turns into more than just a couple here and there, and how we as a community are gonna deal with that, and working with other municipalities in the county to really have a plan and be ahead of it before it. That's important.
Yeah, and the woman today who we met with actually did say CML is a good place to have this conversation because a lot of people are doing this planning. So we might have to, you know, broaden out to that group as well.
Yeah, well, there's also Denver's government regional
Yes.
affairs has been out trying
Denver's been amazing.
and trying to reach out to communities. So you might want to
Right.
connect with the regional affairs.
Yeah, I think that will be a definite next step for us.
I have one thing.
See, we wait long enough.
I just wanted to, I know we were all there, but I wanted to say thank you to Kevin and John and the whole aquatics department for our coffee talk and the pools, and how great of a job that was, and how it opened on time, and you guys really crushed it. And the fact that it was on time and on budget and done, and it looks great. So thank you guys so much. I really, I think it's fantastic and appreciated.
Yeah.
Great amenity for our residents and our guests.
And I appreciate the 50-pound dumbbells that they have. It's good. I haven't seen
In the
that. but
pool?
yeah, no, just
Oh.
in the weight room there. 50 pounds, yeah, Jay.
You look at them?
Jay dusts them. I use them.
All right. That's it.
yeah, I don't even know if dinner's here yet, so.
We're adjourned till 7.
Do you know that, opening day, Thursday, MLB.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Wonder who the Sox are playing.
All right. I'm going to call the town council regular meeting for Tuesday, March 26, 2024 to order. It's 7 PM. Roll call, please, Helen.
Dick Carlton,
Here.
Bergeron,
Here.
Carol,
Here.
Jay Beckerman,
Present.
Todd Rankin,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens.
Here. All right, approval of the minutes, town council minutes for March 12th. Everything look okay? Minutes approved. Approval of the agenda. Shannon, any changes? All right, communications to council. These are non-agenda items only, and it's a 3-minute time limit, please. But if you're here to talk about either the BGB development or entrada or annexation, anything that's on the agenda later tonight, then now is not the time to give comment. If you're here to give comment on something else, we'd love to hear it. And you can step up to the microphone now and have your 3 minutes. None? All right, we will move on to no continued business or second readings. So we're going to move right into our first readings of council bills. Oh,
We have the tourism office.
is she? You, oh, yes, I'm sorry. Sorry.
No worries. I was not worried about it. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Couple of quick updates from the BTO. I wanted to do a lodging update for spring break. These numbers are through yesterday, so what I'm going to talk about here briefly is going to be a little different than what was in the paper last week. So if we look for the entire winter season, we're looking at about 3% up for the season. RevPAR and ADR, like our room rates, are down just a little bit, 2 to 3%. If we look at March and take the two, March overall is probably going to come in about flat. We still have bookings coming in between now and Easter. So we're about 1 point down right now, but I imagine by the month end we'll be flat. If we look at the two big spring weeks, did that just go dead? The two big spring break weeks, that's March 8th through 16 and March 22 to 30. That's when most of the school breaks were. Those room nights are up about 1%. So that's what's different from what was in the paper. And that's simply a function of bookings and that have come in since the report that they were working from. So anyway, April we're expecting is going to be down, with Easter moving forward into March. That's pretty normal. Right now it's about 3,000 room nights total down for April, but there's still some time to make up ground there. I think with the late season skiing we're going to have, that'll probably improve quite a bit. So again, we'll be flat to 1 to 2% up for the winter. So overall, pretty good. Summer, and I will say that yesterday we hosted a Japanese resort group, and summer, fall, they call the green season, and I really like that. So that's going to be our new thing, is it's the green season, not the off season or the shoulder season. So the green season, we have about 25% of rooms on the books so far, and it's up slightly if you include the owner room nights. Owners book their room nights way early, so the numbers are solid because there's a lot of comps in there. Paids are about flat, so early. It's a little early for it to mean much, but there's no reason to be concerned about summer at this point. ADR and length of stay are both up, interestingly enough. Speaking of summer, our summer marketing has been running since January. Our big media spend months are now through May. So everything is in market, in a good place. We've looked at everything, starting to perform the way we would expect it to. We have had changes in our marketing department. We have a vacant position at the CMO level. I've been talking to a number of people have come forward already about roles there. We will post that this week, and I'm going to post it as a range from a director to a CMO, and we'll see kind of what the best fit is going to be. The whole team is like leaning in, stepping up. So there's no stop in the system, put it that way. But I want to take some time and really think through how we put it, how we restructure going forward for the long haul. So that has been interesting. And Oktoberfest. We are looking ahead to Oktoberfest, and we're looking at bringing in RFID bracelets or something to replace the tokens. The tokens are a horrific way to have to work that event. We've been talking about this for years, and we're finally comfortable. We've got a couple of vendors with a proven track record of events that are the size and scope of our Oktoberfest. For a small community, it's a big event, and we're on par with major metros for what happens out there. So we want to be absolutely certain that nothing goes wrong, because clearly if we break the internet by putting too much, that's going to be, we're going to have a pretty bad scene out there on the street. We're working on backup plans to backup plans to backup plans should something go wrong. And the ability of these vendors to fix problems on the fly is really going to be a key decision maker. So we are seriously looking at that, and I'm bringing it up only because it is such a huge deal. If something went wrong, it would be massive impacts for for everybody. And so I certainly I want you all to know and invite your comments, questions, concerns. We probably share the concerns, but I just want that on the table. We're probably looking at making the decision here in a couple weeks. But we feel very solid about two of the vendors are really quite good. So you look like you're formulating a question, Dick. No. Okay, so that's out there. We are going to run this by the BEC committee as well, and that's next week. Just for their comments and things. Then the last thing is just updates for you. The Colorado Tourism Office Destination Stewardship Council, which I sit on, we had put out an RFP for an agency to come in and do a statewide stewardship, like master plan, roadmap kind of thing. So we'll be making that award here in the next week or so. We've got some board members changing out, and we've got some great nominees on deck for that. So I'll wait until they get approved in April. I'm sure they will. And excited about that. No questions?
Great. Questions for Lucy?
Thank you.
Things in a good place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I love green season.
You love what?
I love green season. I think that's terrific. Okay. Now moving on to new business. First reading of Council Bill number 7, Series 2024. A bill for an ordinance amending the development code to create defensible space for mitigation of wildfire. Cliff.
Move this up. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, Cliff Cross Planner 2. Before you this evening, I do have a bill for first reading, amending Policy 22A and Policy 48A regarding defensible space. Over many work sessions and hearings, we've polished this to make it a really good defensible space code that's comfortable with staff as well as our community partners. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Great. Any questions? Any comments from the public on defensible space mitigation for wildfire? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion?
On first reading, move we pass Council Bill number 7, Series 2024, the title which has been read into the record.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Helen.
Councilmember Rankin,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlton,
Yes.
Councilmember Beckerman,
Yes.
Councilmember Sade,
Yes.
Councilmember Bergeron,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens.
Yes. All right, Council Bill number 9, Series 2024, an ordinance approving a development agreement between the Town of Breckenridge and Gondola Properties LLC, a Colorado limited liability company, Gondola Properties, BGV Partners, and Trada LLC, a Colorado limited liability company, BGV and Trada, Vail Summit Resorts, Inc., a Colorado corporation, VSRI, and LC Breckenridge Holdco, LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, LC Breckenridge. Chris.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Before you tonight is a bill at first reading for a development agreement that will cover 7 different parcels that is described in the bill in detail. We have worked on this development agreement through the better part of a year, over 13 work sessions. And the bill specifically tonight is the amended bill that was posted on the Town Council website for March 26, 2024, as reviewed by the council earlier today at their work session. I will be happy to take any questions related to this bill.
Very much, Chris. Any questions? No. All right. Any comments from the public on Council Bill number 9? This is the BGV development. So anybody who wants to talk about this one, specifically anything really except for the Entrada, which is the employee housing, either annexation or that part of the ordinance. So please feel free to step up to the mic and give your name for the record. And then we'll start your 3 minutes.
Good evening, all. My name is Jeff Inouye. I'm the director of the ski program for the Breckenridge Outdoor Education Center. Been with the BOEC for 30 years and just wanted to come and show my support for BGV and the town and Breckenridge Ski Resort. BGV has been a unbelievable partner of ours for many years and huge supporters of our events and our programs, and again, have been with us for numerous years, as have a lot of people on town council have been huge supporters of our program, and just the whole town of Breckenridge has really been very kind to us. And this new bill, or this new chance for a new office for us, would be a huge asset. Our program has been growing. We do have a space on Peak 9, which is, again, very generous from the town or from Breckenridge Ski Resort. Since there's been much more development, lodging, things like that on Peak 7 and Peak 8, we've seen a ton more of our participants that stay lodge up there. And then they usually have to drive down to our office on Peak 9 to get their lessons. So having a place to be able to meet people on Peak 8 would be very helpful for both facilitating more lessons, but also the accessibility for people with disabilities, wheelchairs, to have a closer place to meet, not have to either drive down or use a shuttle or a bus, things like that. So be a great asset to our program. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully moving forward with this. But again, just want to thank everybody, and especially BGV, the resort, the town of Breckenridge, just for allowing this to potentially happen. And yeah, we really appreciate everything that everybody does for us. So
Thank you very much, Jeff.
yep.
Hello, Council and Mayor Pro Tem Jennifer McAtamney. I'm here to just speak on behalf of myself, both as a citizen of Breckenridge and a longtime resident, as well as a former executive director of Building Hope. And I just really want, way to go, you guys, slogging through this development agreement. These aren't easy. They're really complicated. It is truly the sausage making of government. It's also the making of our community at the end of the day. You know, when we look back in history of the development up in Peak 8, and we look over time at the density reduction that has happened there, our community has been benefited again and again as this agreement has come back to the table. And I think we finally got to a place where things are working. And I also want to just comment on the public benefit side of this. The generosity of the organization that is behind this development is really unprecedented in our community. It is not just the stuff they're doing as part of this development, but I got home from a trip, and there I was cruising up Highway 9, and I could see the steel up for the Soul Center, which has been a dream of our community for so long, and is going to serve the most vulnerable people in our community in the neighborhood where they live. And it's not just every developer that would do that. And so I really appreciate you guys taking the time and the patience to work through this and get it right. And I want to thank the Dudek family as well for their personal generosity in helping to get this thing over the edge. The other thing is what you guys don't probably realize, I've been both, and you maybe haven't had the opportunity. I've been both on the grant making side from the town of Breckenridge and the grant writing and begging side as a nonprofit. And without a organization in our community like BGV, so many of our nonprofits would suffer so much more. Their generosity on, twice a year to give on both and like create that giving spirit within their organization, as part of their employee giving, but also organizationally, truly helping what is the safety net of our community get by. These are grants that are not, people are not tied to the edge and have to build a program around it, but they're grants that actually can go to work and really get to the people in our community who really need it. And so I just want to make sure that you're aware of how important they are in a community, not just for what they're building, but the spirit and the values that they live. Thanks.
Sorry. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. My name is Jonathan Desimone, and I live at 73 Regent Drive in Chalk Hill, and I serve on the Chalk Hill POA board. Overall, I support continued development and expansion of the mountain and related facilities. They make this a great community in which to live, which is why we moved here. The continued success of Vail and businesses which support it is a good thing. The challenge is how to expand in ways that minimize the negative impacts. And tonight I want to comment relative to 3 aspects of the development. The first is traffic downtown. We clearly have a frequent traffic problem at Ski Hill Road and Main Street. I was heartened that the study surfaced the idea of a pedestrian scramble. As someone with an office in the Sterling Building, I see the dysfunction of the intersection every single day. The inability of cars to make a right-hand turn due to pedestrians is a safety issue in addition to a traffic flow issue. It is remarkable that more people have not been hurt. I have compiled my own research on the significant benefits of a scramble, otherwise known as a diagonal crossing, the most famous of which is actually located in Tokyo at the Shibuya Scramble Crossing, which is the busiest pedestrian crossing in the world. Diagonal crossings improve traffic flow and reduce the risk of accidents. I would really like to see the town study this and experiment with different crossing patterns to see what will alleviate this significant issue. There's no reason we can't try a bunch of things here to see what improves flow and safety the best. And if you're ever looking for someone from the community to volunteer, I happily raise my hand. The second is traffic on Ski Hill Road. As a resident of Chalk Hill, we already face significant obstacles in crossing Ski Hill Road safely. There is no crosswalk or even signage alerting cars the potential of pedestrians. That is despite the fact that Chalk Hill is currently designated by its legacy planning as Zone 3 single-family residential, which was decided prior to the installation of the gondola, I would add. Having over 130 homes without the inability to cross a busy street or access the sidewalk to access doesn't feel like something that will get approved today, given the amount of traffic on this road. I think having some signage and a painted crosswalk at a bare minimum would help make this a safer crossing, given the increase in traffic on this road at negligible cost relative to the overall cost of this project. My last point is I think we are ignoring a key tool for the mitigation of traffic between the town and the resort, and that is the gondola. While it is the property of Vail Resorts, its hours of operation are a fraction of what they could be. I would encourage the town, BGV, and Vail to explore an expansion of operating hours, as well as the operating season, which is quite short. There would be incremental staffing and maintenance costs that we need to explore funding sources.
Sir,
Yeah,
your time is up.
sorry. I didn't time myself, so I didn't realize that. Sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you very
If
much,
have
Council.
additional comments you'd like to email to us, we can share those with council.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Grant. I'm the Development Director at FERC. I am here on behalf of myself and Executive Director Breanne Snow, who wrote a letter, and I just would like to read a few of those words here tonight. So Breckenridge Grand Vacations' dedication to support the community through this significant financial contribution is commendable. Projects like the Soul Center require collaborative efforts and partnership to come to fruition, and this commitment will push the building to completion and close the funding gap. The Soul Center will undoubtedly have a profound and positive impact on our community. It will serve as a hub for essential services, providing much-needed support and resources to residents in need. Additionally, the Soul Center will contribute to fostering a more inclusive and supportive community environment and enhance the overall well-being of our community. On behalf of FERC, we respectfully request Breckenridge Town Council to consider supporting Breckenridge Grand Vacations project based upon their generous funding commitment towards the completion of the Soul Center. And I echo Jen's comments. I just want to say they have been such a great supporter to us, and we are just extremely grateful. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem and Town Council. My name is Dave DePeters. I'm the CEO of the National Repertory Orchestra. I would like to take a moment, first of all, to thank you all, and especially Kelly Owens, for your support and the recognition of the existential threat housing plays for the NRO. I know a great deal of time has been spent trying to make something happen to give the NRO guaranteed housing for the future, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge and thank Mike Dudek and his team for the efforts in trying to put an agreement together for our housing and recognizing the importance that the NRO plays in staying here in Breckenridge. And we are grateful to Vail Resorts, and they're working with us in the past, the present, and we very much look forward to many years in the future working with Vail Resorts. I certainly understand the many facets of this agreement. I sat through most, if not all, of these discussions with you, and I appreciate all of your efforts. And while unfortunately it was not possible to put language we had hoped for in this agreement, I am hopeful that a solution of some type will allow the NRO to plan each and every season far enough in advance, knowing housing will be possible. After all, that's all we're looking for. The ability to plan our seasons to provide the most dynamic, uplifting, and fun concert events each and every year. So we support you all and your efforts in putting this together, and we support this development agreement. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. All right, any more comments? Last call. Can I get a motion, please?
Yes. I move we pass Council Bill on first reading number 9, Series 2024, the title which has been read into the record.
Second.
All right, any further discussion?
I just would say, anytime there's a huge development like this, there's always hand wringing. But I do think this is something that we're gonna look back on and think it was the right thing to do at the right time. The alternative to what is going to be happening in months to come would be a 3 or 4 multi-story buildings right in the heart of town. And with the work with the developer and the staff for 13 months, I think this project is something I think we'll look back and say it was the right thing to do. And I want to thank all the staff for putting this thing together and BGV for throwing money at the problem and throwing money at our nonprofits. So, thanks.
Yeah, please, Jen, you said it well, you sat up here. It's the sausage making of government, where is too deep in the weeds and where is too high at a high strategic level. I don't know, but this is something I've been passionate about. I may have gotten too far in the weeds at times. Maybe some would think, some wouldn't, but I want to thank Mike and the BGV team for, sorry, I'm looking at the boss, Mike, sorry. And no, I really want to thank you guys for this. This was a very, very different process than the others that I've been a part of. And it's been a much more open process with the applicant. I feel like we've pushed pretty hard on a few items. And there has been some give and take, and I very much appreciate that. I am going to support this tonight. It's, I've done some real soul searching on that, and it's the right thing to do, and I'm happy to support it. It's, I appreciate the gives, the negotiation, the compromise in this process. I also very much appreciate your contribution to Cucumber Gulch. The improvements to Ski Hill and Park Avenue intersection, which I know are small, but we're just so constricted there with the available land to do anything significant, or I would have been pushing a lot harder for a lot more there. And I'm sure you would have been willing to do a lot more, but we're just so restricted. But your willingness to make the improvements that I think are practical there. The BOEC, an organization near and dear to my heart. You know, I volunteered in that program for a long time in the 80s and pushed a lot of sleds around. To have an office on the snow up at the base Peak 8 is huge. And I know that's beachfront property and that's valuable space. And so I'm very grateful for that. And then finally, your incredible $2 million gift, which you brought up, I think, 800,000 from your original negotiation to close the gap, as Jen put it, on the fundraising and support two of just possibly the most important organizations in our town, Building Hope and FERC, and giving them a home to do their work in a far more efficient and I think will be a much more effective way is enormous. So I appreciate the staff and the work and possibly the hell I put you through. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of work and a lot of rewriting, redoing, redrawing. I think we have a much better project for it. It's been a marathon, a long haul, but I think it's a far improved project from where we started, particularly way back in the gondola lot days. You know, huge improvement once we started talking about moving it up, but from the first beginning of moving it up to where we are now, it's, in my opinion, a much better project. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. Todd, you want to add anything?
Yeah. It's a great result for the town, and I'm really appreciative of staff and the applicant and certainly the council members where this was a passion project and the energy that, that everybody put into this. And I think our community's better for it. So thanks.
Okay.
I'll be quick, but I think it is important to reiterate that this is not a project that is being given by the town, that this is density and development rights that BGV, the applicant, has and is able to develop. And that is not something that is in the purview of this council to either strip or provide. It is just the development rights and the density they have. And it has been over the last year and change that the project has been molded into a development that is better for this town than it would otherwise have been. And so it wasn't is it happening or is it not? It's how is it happening? And it's a distinguishment that I would like to make, and I would love for our community to really understand that it wasn't a yes or no. It was going to be a yes by their rights of property rights and development rights. And it was really forming it into the best possible plan for this community. And I'd like to thank the staff and their tireless hours of Mark, Chris, the whole ComDev, our attorney and town managers. So.
Well put, Jay. Jeffrey?
No, I think I already talked.
I got it. Oh, well, kicked us off on the right foot. All right. Well, Dick and Jay, I feel like really said said it all. I do want to commend Dick on the effort that you put into this, and I absolutely think that the project is better because you read every word 3 times. So between you and staff and BGV, I think we really did do right for our community, and that was the priority. I also want to say about the traffic. That is something that BGV is a partner with the town in, and we are committed to that. You know, Vail Resorts and BGV and the town have a working group for traffic in this community, particularly at 4 o'clock. We're going to continue developing that working group, making sure that we have all the right people in the right places, you know, whether that means that we're directing traffic on some days or whether we're working with CDOT to do a better job with the lights, which has, you know, is something that our town engineer is constantly working with them to get the best scenario for all the different ways of traffic. And I know that they have looked at Scramble, but I think it always deserves to be looked at again. The Shock Hill, you know, crossing and the gondola use all needs to be part of the conversation, and we're committed to continuing that conversation. So I just want to make sure that that Jonathan, that you hear us say, you know, that's part of a bigger commitment, not just the BGV development. So I would also thank staff for all the work that they did on this, and obviously BGV, your contributions in this community are a huge reason that we felt very comfortable with where we got this development agreement. So with that,
We have to vote.
yep, roll call.
Councilmember Beckerman,
Yes.
Councilmember Sade,
Yes.
Councilmember Bergeron,
Yes.
Councilmember Rankin,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens.
Yes. All right. On to Council Bill number 10, Series 2024, a bill for an ordinance approving and accomplishing the annexation of contiguous unincorporated territory known as the Entrada property, and in connection therewith approving an annexation and development agreement for the Entrada property. Mark.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. In front of you is a bill that will annex the property on the northeast corner of Highway 9 and County Road 450 into the town, known as the Entrada parcel. We've gone through a number of discussions with the council on that. And this is an annexation and development agreement. So there are some waivers from the code that have been provided, and they've all been published today online for everyone to review, including the recent changes that were discussed in terms of rent rates, et cetera, that were discussed at the previous meeting and today. We also have incorporated 2 changes that Kirsten was able to put together after the afternoon work session. The first is regarding fees. We've been very specific now. So it says, the new wording says, the town shall waive the zoning application fee, impact fees, and any fees associated with the development permit, infrastructure permit, and building permits. So we're very specific about that. It's narrowed the focus considerably. And then as well, the language has been modified on condominiums to provide a first right of refusal to the town in terms of acquiring the property should it be put up for sale or any of the units there at Entrada. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mark.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
very much for getting those changes put in. Any questions for Mark?
Mark, the first right in the appreciation thing, that's for the second and further on sales, right? Not the first?
Correct.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, any comments from the public on Council Bill number 10? Oh, that's what we're on. No? All right. Can I have a motion?
On first reading, I move we pass Council Bill number 10, Series 2024, the title which has been read into the record.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Helen?
Councilmember Bergeron,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlton,
Yes.
Councilmember Sade,
Yes.
Councilmember Beckerman,
Yes.
Councilmember Rankin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens.
Yes. All right, moving on to Council Bill number 11, Series 2024, a bill for an ordinance placing the Entrada property that has been annexed to the town of Breckenridge into Land Use District 5.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Yes, this will place the Entrada property into Zone District, Land Use District 5, which allows for, among other things, workforce housing. So it's been appropriately placed there. The Planning Commission made a recommendation to make that placement into Land Use District 5 previously. Just one thing of note, there will be we will have to skip the next meeting for second reading because of notifications requirements with land use guideline changes. It'll have to go to the second meeting in April for a second reading.
That's great information. Thanks, Mark.
Mhm.
Any questions? No. Any comments from the public on Council Bill number 11? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
On first reading, I move past Council Bill number 11, Series 2024, the title which has been read into the record.
Second.
Any further discussion? Can I have a roll call, please, Helen?
Councilmember Carlton,
Yes.
Councilmember Beckerman,
Yes.
Councilmember Bergeron.
Yes.
Councilmember Rankin,
Yes.
Councilmember Sade,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens.
Yes. All right. There you have it. Thank you guys very much. Moving on to resolutions. Resolution number 10, Series 2024, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the town and the Summit County Combined Housing Authority pertaining to the reimbursement for services of the SCHA Executive Director. I can read. Just
Mayor
not
Pro-
this.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, you have before you a resolution that would allow the town to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Summit Combined Housing Authority to loan Corey Burr, who has worked for our housing department for, I think, to the Housing Authority to be their executive director for the next year. There was a process that Corey did very well in. She is an ideal candidate for this position, and the board and I think our staff here feel that Corey will do a great job over there. And the town allowing her the opportunity to work at the Housing Authority will benefit not only the Housing Authority, but all of the community that they reach out to. So in the memo, I highlighted a few things from the agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Shannon? All right. Can I have a motion, please?
I move we pass resolution number 10, Series 2024, resolution approving intergovernmental agreement between the town and the Summit County Combined Housing Authority pertaining to the reimbursement for services of the SCHA Executive Director. Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Helen.
Councilmember Beckerman,
Yes.
Councilmember Bergeron.
Yes.
Councilmember Sade,
Yes.
Councilmember Rankin,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens.
Yes. All right, planning matters. Planning Commission decisions? None. All right, we're gonna move into the town project public hearing, Tiger Dredge F&B Delivery Service Pilot Temporary Structure. Sarah, please.
Do you mind just going down a couple pages? Perfect. Or maybe one more to the elevation. Thanks. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'm Sarah Crump, Planner 3 for the town. Before you tonight for public hearing is a proposal to construct a temporary structure and temporary office for the Food and Beverage Delivery Pilot Program. This is to be located at 150 West Adams in the south horseshoe of the Tiger Dredge surface parking lot. It's important to note that the town's Public Works Office and the contractor that was selected along with planning, we looked at about 8 different sites for this pilot program structure, including town-owned sites on Airport Road, the F lot, and the Schoonover lot over next to Town Hall. And this site was selected because of its ability to be screened from Park Avenue, the proximity to the businesses that will be delivering goods and services to, and also its access to existing utilities and town ownership. So this pilot delivery program aims to provide much public benefit by reducing emissions and large vehicle traffic on downtown streets through the use of these smaller all-electric vehicles that will deliver food and beverage items to each business. The project will help meet council goals by promoting this innovative and sustainable solution for delivery service and improving overall safety for pedestrians and bicycles that are on downtown streets. If successful, the pilot program could be expanded in the future to include more businesses or also the collection of refuse and recycling. So the temporary structure will consist of a north sprung structure as shown on the screen, and this will be covered with a brown canvas fabric with an open raised steel foundation. The structure will be approximately 22 feet tall with 6 loading docks along the north facade, and this will accommodate large delivery vehicles turning off of West Adams Avenue. So a separate office trailer will be connected to the sprung structure on the south facade, and together these temporary structures will be approximately 2,386 square feet. Construction of the temporary structure will require minimal grading, and but this will close the horseshoe to public parking during the pilot program. A total of 36 parking spaces in the horseshoe, and then 8 approximately parallel spaces along West Adams Avenue will be closed to the public during the pilot program. But accommodations are being made for that employee parking to happen in other town-owned lots. There will be negligible change to the open space on the Riverwalk parcel where this will be located. And the town will be required to mitigate the site and replace any disturbed vegetation after the pilot program is ended and the structure is removed. So town staff and the contractor have worked to select a location and temporary structure that best meets the project's needs and substantially meets the requirements of the development code. But recognizing that this temporary structure does fail the policy 36 temporary structures in the development code. So, but because this is a town project, it does not have to comply with Chapter 1 of the development code. So the Planning Commission on March 19th voted to recommend the project to the Town Council with the following point analysis. -6 points under Policy 5R for the use of 100% non-natural materials, -1 point under Policy 6R for an unbroken ridgeline that's greater than 50 feet. And then again, positive points, 3 points under Policy 24R, social community for meeting 2 council goals that were identified, boots and bikes and more boots and bikes and less cars, and then also the innovative sustainable leader goal. And then finally, 4 positive points under Policy 26R for completing the project because it was listed as a capital improvement project in the SIP. So again, the Planning Commission voted 7-0 to recommend this project for approval. And I myself, the planning staff and Public Works, James Phelps, are here available for questions if you have any. There were some previous comments from the public provided in your packet, but I'm available for questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. All right, any questions for Sarah? Jay, you want to kick us off?
I just had, and I don't know if this is in your purview or more in Public Works, but we spoke about a certain length of trailer being able to enter this horseshoe from Park and not from Adams. Did we determine what length that is the maximum to be able to make it through that roundabout?
To make it through the roundabout, maybe greater than 35 feet would be exempted from the roundabout. The sketch shown here is a 56-foot sleeper trailer, which we very rarely would see delivering goods in town. But that is the length of a 56-foot cab trailer and the radius that they would need. So probably greater than the 35 feet would not make it around the roundabout and need to access through this West Adams entrance.
Thank you.
Are we, this might be for James, or I'm not sure, are we purchasing the spring structure?
Yes.
Okay, so we could repurpose it later, probably, maybe,
Possibly.
somewhere, some.
There are some aspects of the sprung structure and the dock station that we will be able to utilize in a permanent installation.
Right.
So there's some things we will be able to and some we
Just
won't.
thinking, Public Works might be able to use it. I see a yes.
It's really tucked away. Todd?
Do you like the sprung structure? For the secondary use?
Yeah, sorry about that. James Phelps for the record. The sprung structure itself wouldn't be used for the secondary use. There's the dock loading system is the piece of the capital purchase right now that would be able to be used for the permanent structure, should we go to that next phase.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And then the parking, I don't know if this is for Sarah or you, James, the excuse me, the parking for the employees, the 36 to 40. I know we're planning to let them park in other lots. Do we have any more specific of a plan? I'm concerned with F-lot being full when employees are coming to work and in that zone, not having anywhere to park.
I know F-lot was discussed as the primary reservoir to transfer those employees because it's closest and it wouldn't be that big of a change for employees that are used to parking in this location to move to F-lot. I know Matt Halsey has been part of the discussion for where employees would be able to transfer their permits. And so I think he'll be included as the discussion goes on if that's not appropriate.
Yeah, maybe I'll grab coffee with Matt. I'm still a little concerned about good options for our workforce in parking there. And just in parking, that's a heavily used, that's always used for,
So
workforce.
the
Lot of
spots
workforce.
would be specifically signed for employee parking permit.
Ah, okay, great.
10, and then.
So there'd be a section that's like
Mhm.
reserved for employees.
Yes.
Okay, that makes me feel
Yep.
better. That's great.
Yeah.
So down the road, I think, we've looked at 8 spots and this is the one most feasible certainly for the pilot program. If this thing is a raving success and we think we want to do this on a more permanent basis, would that open up some other locations that we'd consider? Or have we ruled out the 8 that we looked at already of not being feasible?
At this time, Jeffrey, we're a little bit limited on some of the other locations. I think we've identified a few other locations, but we don't currently have ownership of some of those sites. One of the things that has been contemplated with this particular location is there would be a way that we could couple some of the design of a permanent structure if it was thought and determined that this was the best location. We're looking at doing a joint project that would incorporate an expansion of the F-lot. And it would also, as part of that, again, this is all just being contemplated at this point, that we would deck out to the north over F-lot, and we would regain that parking that displaced through this. And so a portion of this facility potentially could be underground or at least on a kind of a garden level.
Yep.
So it'd be, their end would be a lot less visible than what's being proposed through this pilot.
Is there some property a possibility that we're looking at to purchase that we're certainly not going to mention the exact location now, but are we looking at other properties that that might work for us if we in fact own them?
Correct, we are. I think, again, I think internally, we've talked about a number of locations, and again, we're just, again, somewhat limited to the ones that we actually own at this time, but there might be some potential in the future to look at some other locations that would have the same similar proximity, which is really critical to the success of this program.
And part of the reason we're moving forward at this point is not just because we don't have, or part of the reason we're moving forward in this location is because you guys in studying this really do think this is an ideal location, correct?
Correct. The really what we're trying to achieve in this and is just as Sarah has mentioned, that there's an efficiency that can be gained by reducing the truck vehicle traffic and those conflicts that those trucks and deliveries have throughout the course of the day. So really the real goal in this program is to centralize a loading area where the trucks can all come into, and then we can do basically those smaller deliveries out to the specific restaurants and reduce a lot of those conflicts in those bigger vehicles that are seen whether on Main Street or Ridge Street or on the ups and downs. And again, the location of this is really important so we can be the most efficient with that operation.
And so when you talk about most efficient, it's like, this is how we can just move forward with only 3 vehicles rather than having more of those electric vehicles because of drive time and fewer employees, because we would need more employees. Like if we were out on Airport Road, for instance, it would probably require more resources, more expenditure at this point, right? Because people would be spending a lot of time getting back and forth.
And more time. I mean, I think the quicker we get them in and out of town and get the job done, the better for everyone. So I agree with everything you're saying, but also time.
Correct. It's really a function of time and motion, and having it any further out on the periphery of town would just add, from a logistics and kind of an operational perspective, it would add more people, more vehicles, and so there's probably a threshold in there of which the efficiency wouldn't be same as it is in a centralized location closer into the town.
Oh, hold on, we're not doing public comment right now, but we will do it, and then you'll be able to talk or have raise questions and things like that. So another thing that you did touch on a little bit is the public safety aspect. I was curious because we talked about getting positive points for a couple of different things. Is public safety something that we get positive points for? Because I feel like that's the crux of.
There's not a public safety positive point in the development code.
Okay.
We are able to give positive points for meeting council goals. So one of the highest identified goal was more boots and bikes and less cars. So that, translates to fewer trucks, safer for pedestrians on their streets. That's
Okay.
where that positive point comes from.
Gotcha. Thank you. Did you have another? It seemed like you were having, Jay.
Yeah, I was just curious, on this pilot program, how many trucks are we anticipating taking out of town per day?
That exact number is still to be determined, Jay, since it is a pilot. The way that we're going into this pilot program, there is a voluntary component to it right now. So I think in talking with the contractor, we're working with several of the vendors right now to right-size this program. Again, this is a pilot program, so there is a carrying capacity of sorts that we're trying to achieve, that we don't look to take on too many vendors right now and then in turn not be successful with what we're trying to accomplish here. So I don't know that exact number right now of how many vehicles that we can take off during the pilot portion of this program.
Great. And the West Adams is a one-way street currently. Is that, and will it remain a one-way street?
That is correct. I don't believe there hasn't been any internal discussion about or identified need to make that a two-way road.
So the semis that are longer than 35 feet that have to enter on West Adams will exit onto Park.
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? up here? All right. Sorry to cut you off. Now is the time to, for any public comment. So if anyone wants to have their comment, go ahead and step up to the microphone and say your name for the record, please.
Sure. Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name's Terry Barbu. I'm the owner of a number of restaurants that are going to be dealing with this new situation. I mean, we did over $10 million in sales. That's $3 million of food and liquor being brought in. It's a number of different vendors and a number of different things. And so I'm worried, you know, at the fact that I've developed relationships with a lot of these vendors over time, you know, how that's going to be affected by it. We have the ability to push them to do some things they don't want to do because of the fact that we need the product to sell. We have small restaurants, small kitchens. You know, we get our food in 3 to 4 times a week, our liquor in 2 to 3 times a week. And we're just, you know, you have a lot of questions, I guess, once this comes together. I don't think you can do a pilot program and not keep it here because the pilot program is going to prove that this is going to work, especially if you do it during the summer months. I'm not worried about how difficult that's going to be. It really boils down to the difficulty of how this is going to be in the wintertime. With the club cars, electric vehicles, things that are going to freeze up, you know, and when I talked to them at the last meeting that we had, they're going to have 4 vehicles. I mean, I think that there needs to be a lot of things addressed so that I don't run into a situation where I can't serve food. You know, we have a lot of these trucks that are coming in and out from Denver, and they're coming at all hours of the day now and night, especially when this weather's happening. We'll get a delivery at 10, 11 o'clock at night, you know, and is that going to go through this? Is it going to come to us? And then becomes the accountability aspect of this whole thing. When something doesn't show up, you know, who do we call? Who do we go after to try to figure out where it is and who's got it now? Is it part of, you know, on the docks here? Are they short a guy that didn't show up for work, which we have? I mean, there's just a lot of questions that kind of come along with that. So that's kind of where I'm at is if you're going to do a pilot program from this, then, and it works, then we should probably keep it here and expand it on this whole thing. I'm all for BREC moving forward with electric. I'm all for sustainability. I'm all for all the things that you guys are trying to accomplish. I just think that there needs to be more, when this thing happens, communication, especially with me, as to how it's going to work, and so we can work out all the difficulties and all the problems. I mean, I'd be happy, and since I will be the guinea pig kind of in this whole thing, you know, to try to figure out how to make it better if you guys are going to be definitely, you know, creating this project. So, you know, I've got a number of questions, but I think it's not really directed at you. It's going to be directed towards the people that are going to be operating this whole thing and how we're going to, you know, come out of this alive, shall we say. I mean, it's scary. Yeah, Jay and Eric also, I mean, I don't think it's going to go all the way down to you, though. I think it's going to be, it will go all the way down to you.
Yeah, man.
Stopped at Lincoln.
The geographic portion of this is going to go from North French
Okay,
all the way to South Park,
right.
and then from the river to Ridge, and it will not include Main Street Station or Lacima Mall.
Right, okay.
So it will include, you know, whether it's the Hearthstone, Blue River Bistro, and everything in between.
So it will serve Ridge too. And that's the other thing is when it,
Okay,
Yeah.
so just so we're clear, I appreciate, Terry,
Right.
these questions are excellent questions and we want to work with you. That's the 3 minutes. So if you can wrap up your
Sure.
comments and then go ahead and anything you have, you can submit, but we're all so happy to meet with you and.
I just want
this
to,
be
I want to have the ability to work with the vendor that you're using so that I can figure out ways that we can feel comfortable with this and not be stuck in the dark as to where is our product, who's got it now, what's going on with it, you know, type of a thing. And it's more than likely the truck didn't show up, but we're not going to know this now, you know, because it
Okay.
didn't show up to the dock. So those are the
Yeah.
things, all right?
Hey, let's get you set up with the vendor and go over to Vales, do a tour of that facility, watch it work. This
Yeah.
probably, well, see how quickly you can pull it together because it needs to be a busy Cause I was really skeptical as well.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was at peak of my business, I was probably about the same volume as you. I get it.
Yeah.
And, it's, yeah, let's get you set up with those guys. Let's go see it. Give you time to talk with those guys.
Right.
And because I agree, I mean, I think you can benefit them and they can explain things to you. So
Well,
they're
and
very
my-
open to meeting and talking with you guys. So.
Well, my big thing is, they're underground, we're above ground. That's the fear.
So one last thing, we are running this year round. We're starting it in the summer because we want it to be able to kick off snow free.
Right.
But we absolutely are running the pilot through the winter so that we will have
Okay.
answers to all of those logistical questions as well. So
Okay.
we'll get, not just you, I mean, I'm sure the whole restaurant association would benefit from an invite over to the Vail to see it, but also those guys from 106 West can come and talk to the restaurant association. So we'll make sure and set that up.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments?
Denise Holmes, and I work with Terry and Jason. And so I have a question because I wasn't at the last meeting, but when you're saying, so is this been already approved as a pilot program? Because I guess I feel there's a lot of loose ends that are not thought through before they go ahead and approve a pilot program.
That's what we're working towards tonight, but this is the public hearing for us to hear questions and concerns from the public.
So I guess when I was looking at it is, when we were talking about electric cars, I'm based out of Wisconsin. I can tell you how many cars of friends of ours this last winter didn't start, trucks that they left out because they went to go hunting for a short amount of time. And so to do this, won't you now have to build another car, some type of electric platform?
Can you do your whole comment and then we can answer
Okay.
your questions?
No, that's fine. So that's a big question to me. And then, so how are these electric cars or whatever you call them, coming down to each restaurant? And are they going to be manned with 1 or 2 people? Then how is the accountability? And Terry touched on this. How do we know that the product was delivered to your station and we are getting all the product delivered to the restaurant? And what happens if there's breakage? Are these going to be employees of the town that are delivering these items? And then are they accountable if we are missing things or they are broken? And what happens? Well, we already know this. Terry touched about it. Because of the weather, or sometimes truck drivers can only drive so many hours and then they just have to stop. And we know that we've had to go to Denver, Frisco to do these deliveries. So then is the town going to be responsible for going to go get these deliveries? Because we do need them that day. And I think you also touched is, Vail has a whole underground system. It's similar to like Disney. If you've ever been down to Disney and gone underground, it's an underground world. Breck was designed as a town. It wasn't designed as a major resort. So they didn't set it up to do it that way. And now we're trying to make modifications to something that really wasn't designed to be totally underground. And, our town isn't a total pedestrian walking town. I mean, we're trying to do that in Madison, Wisconsin, and it's failed for 25 years. They keep on trying to make like a Pearl Street and it just won't work. And so I guess that's what I think that the town needs to look at all the aspects. And, even these truck drivers coming in, I mean, I've driven big semi trucks. They're not easy to turn around. And then you got to back up if you get any snow. I know you said you're starting this during the summer, but I think you have to think farther on the winter and how it's going to work. Thank you.
Oh, perfect timing.
So Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead, Sarah.
I just want to clarify, this is a hearing for the erection of the structure, not the pilot program. And absolutely, we want to take your constructive comments on the pilot program and take that feedback into consideration. But the hearing tonight is for the construction of the temporary structure. So I just want to make that clear.
A great point.
And we can have staff connect with folks and get them answers to their questions or speak with them again.
Are there any other public comments on this?
So speaking of that point, we're talking about
Say your name, please.
Jason Payne. So when we talk about
Jason?
Payne. So when we talk about a temporary structure, we've talked about the parking lot that is next to the parking garage, correct? So speaking to that point,
No, it's the horseshoe.
Kind of down next to the Riverwalk.
okay, Tiger Dredge. So what are we actually looking at as far as eliminating the employee parking within that perspective? And with that said, how are we going to really accrue the parking for the rest of the employees that buy the parking passes that take that on? I mean, there's limited parking all around town. There's nothing available to any of my employees. I've got 200 of them. And then in addition to that, really, how are you going to keep the goods cold, the trucks warm, charge them, and do everything in that facility?
Thanks, Jason. So we do have a lot of these answers to these questions, and we've certainly had lots of these same concerns. And this is currently occurring in Vail Resorts, and I realize that they have a little bit of a different system, but their like town and delivery system is not underground. So while they do have more snow melt than we do, they do have snow as well. So some of these things, or I think all of the questions that I heard tonight, they're terrific questions. We're super happy that you came to share them with us because we absolutely want to have good answers to you, and we want to be able to bring this up with the contractor. But I think you guys will feel more comfortable as you see what they have done in Vail. We also know that many of the distributors that have come here have.
And will we implement this program based upon the knowledge that you have?
So
Need
staff
just a
will,
second.
yeah, if you'd let the mayor finish and then staff will get with you to answer your questions.
So I think the important thing here is that we really just open up the lines of communication, because I can understand, like, you guys are running massive businesses. We want to be your partners. We are not trying to make it more difficult. And what we've seen in Vail and from the distributors in Vail is that they want to be a part of the program. And they're coming to us excited to be a part of this program. So we really do want it to be a success, but we want it to be a success for you guys. So we're committed to working through that. And we do think that the knowledge that's already there from working at Vail and coming over here as a second, this is a pilot, but this is not their first time doing this. So we feel confident, and our staff is very experienced with the issues that go on in town. And of course, we have 2 restaurateurs now, and Eric was a part of this conversation for, 3 months when he was on council as well. So I think that the restaurateur voice has certainly been considered throughout this process. So we totally look forward to working with you guys more on this and understand the consternation. And as far as employee parking goes, that is something that we are working to figure out exactly how that's going to work, but we know that we can't afford to lose employee parking in town. We absolutely hear that. Shannon, did you want to say something about timeline?
No, I think that James and Sarah can probably get with them and talk about when implementation will start and how that will all work.
Yeah, and maybe as part of a timeline, James, we could work into that, something about like when we can have 106 West go to the Restaurant Association meeting.
They've already been once.
Okay.
Yeah, and, but I think it would benefit Terry, being one of the larger restaurateurs in town,
To go over.
connect directly with 106 and
Yeah.
give them some time. It would benefit everyone and give Terry the opportunity to go tour it, because it's hard to really get your head around it till you really see it happening.
Okay, any further public comment?
Where's the motion?
It's at the front of the pack. Oh, is it at the end or?
The end of the memo.
Oh, I think. The end of the memo. What's wrong with your?
Hmm.
How come it looks so different?
I don't know.
Here it is.
Okay.
All right, can I have a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to approve the Tiger Dredge temporary delivery sprung structure town project PL 2024-0045 located 150 North Adams Avenue. The project having passed a point analysis of 0 points under the development code relative policy and failing the temporary structure absolute policy 36 of the development code's absolute policies.
Second.
All right, further discussion. Vic?
The one thing we need to live by our own rules and make the timeline for the sprung structure to be up.
I agree.
Because, you know, we've lived with, other applicants that have left them up way too long and, we can't be one of those people. Which I know we won't, but I just wanted to make that comment.
You got any final discussion, comments?
I'm excited about the project and to see how it works in this spot and see what we can do to make it better, and certainly appreciate staff's hard work so far. There's gonna be plenty more to come and a lot of hard work with the restaurateurs. Appreciate you showing up and your input will be valuable. And yeah, I'm a fan of what we're doing. I think this is gonna be good stuff. So that's all I got.
I think we all realize how important the food and beverage industry is to our community. Often it's what the guests remember the most. They're the ambassadors to our community. We want to make this, we hope to make this easier to function in our community. And if it sucks, we won't do it anymore. So, you know, we're gonna give it a try. We'll put our best effort into it. And yeah, if it works, we'll be heroes. If it doesn't work, we'll be the GOAT. But
Yeah, you'll
know,
be back.
yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, so it's, you know, you gotta take some chances, and I think this has been vetted in other communities, and I hope it's a roaring success, and if it isn't, you know, I'll feel bad about it, but thanks, Terry, appreciate it, so.
Jay, any further discussion?
Discussion, maybe not comment, of the fact that, this is an extremely forward-thinking project that goes so far beyond food and beverage. That is really just the tip of the iceberg here. This is about really the town's goals on sustainability, safety, circulation, and then be able to make this town core a more desirable place for our residents, for our workforce, and for our guests. And so the fact that we're going to be able to get the eventual goal of getting food and beverage trucks out of the core and off our Riverwalk and out of our alleys where 18-wheelers just don't belong is really just the start of it. I think it's getting the garbage, the recycling, the compost trucks, and really bringing this, our town core, into a better place than it's been. That'll provide a better experience for the people that work, live here, and visit. And so I'm very excited about it. All the question marks that have been brought up are extremely valid, but they have been thought through, and these questions have been asked prior to tonight. And I look forward to the opportunity to sit down with you and with the rest of our community and chat through them and just kind of show where the possibilities of this are and just how proud I am that we are of a town that has the resources and the leadership to move into this direction. I think it's going to prove to be a great experience.
Thanks, Jay. I echo what Jeffrey and Jay said. I think one of the most important things to this council is that we elevate people's experience that when they're here in town. And absolutely, Jeffrey's right. I mean, people remember their restaurant experience. We want to do what keeps you guys in business and really thriving. And I really believe, after hearing the feedback from Vail, not from 106 West, but from restaurateurs at Vail, that this makes their lives easier, that more reliable, and absolutely makes it a better walking experience throughout their town. So, you know, it comes down to these, I think, really small, but, and expensive, but very important, impactful projects. And I think this is going to be something that we look back and are very happy that we committed to. And I really do hope that the process is as painless as it can be. So as many comments as you want to give us, as can give us, we are open to and want to hear. So thank you very, very much for being here tonight. It's an incredibly important part of the process. So thank you guys very much. Okay, anything final? Roll call, please, Helen.
Councilmember Bergeron.
Yes.
Councilmember Carlton.
Yes.
Councilmember Sade.
Yes.
Councilmember Beckerman.
Yes.
Councilmember Rankin.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens.
Yes. All right. What else? What didn't we do earlier? Report of the town manager and staff. Anything else?
No, nothing else.
No other matters since an hour and a half ago? Other matters? Look at the scheduled meeting. All right, meeting adjourned.
Bye, Mayor.